What's going on, guys? I'm Andrew.
I'm Jason.
And this is Movie Source.
Today we're doing our scene-by-scene breakdown for Captain America:
Civil War. Alright, so as Jason just pointed out, this is a scene-by-scene breakdown. We obviously are going to go heavy deep into spoilers as we layer through the entire picture. If you have not seen the picture yet, what are you doing? Go see the movie right now. Hit the pause button. Come back and watch it after you've seen it. If you haven't seen it and you don't care for spoilers, then continue on, but still you should see the movie. It's amazing. Now, starting off the film, really quick, we just want to quickly mention it is directed by the Russo brothers who came back from Winter Soldier, and they're also going to be doing Avengers Infinity War Parts 1 and 2, although they did say that they're going to rename those films. Also, we got the writers, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, phenomenal. They're also same thing as the Russo brothers. They're going to be coming back for Avengers.
I'm really glad we're getting those guys all back for Avengers.
Yeah, and as we pointed out before we even started, they really understand the characters as we've seen from the first two films, and they understand action. I mean, the action sequence they've created in these two movies, as we're going to go down this, incredible. So we're really looking forward to seeing that whole team come back for Infinity War Parts 1 and 2. Now, starting off this movie, I love that we get that tone from the Winter Soldier. I mean, obviously we start off with the Winter Soldier. You know, we start off December of 1991, and you know we see that the Winter Soldier, basically when they brainwash Bucky, they have to use those words that they use, and one of them, obviously we pointed out, was Homecoming, and the new Spider-Man film next year.
But they've later said that that's just a coincidence. They weren't. That doesn't really mean anything. At least so they say. But
okay.
I think it's just a coincidence. It just happened that way.
I like seeing that, like how they're messing around with Bucky's brain, just and brainwashing him. And you can also see everything that happens to him is out of his control. He's just a victim in all this.
And you can see how much pain he's in too. He's obviously just sitting in the chair taking it. But as soon as they finish saying the words, he just says, ready to comply.
Yeah. No, and also too that the guy who's reading the Russian to him, I believe it's got to be Hydra, right? So
yeah,
I mean, with the Hydra soldier, well, yeah, he does say Hell Hydra later in Cleveland, which we'll go over in that scene. But basically, in that scene, just seeing him read around, I had a feeling that this character was going to be later in the film, which we'll get to in the Cleveland scene, as we just alluded to. But I like seeing that, as we mentioned, just watching them brainwash Bucky, and then, like we said, seeing him in pain, seeing that there's nothing he can really do about it. It just did a good job setting the tone for this film.
So then we cut to present day in Lagos, and we see Captain America and his team staking out crossbones. They're trying to be really stealth, and he says that they've been staking out crossbones for the last 6 months, and this is the best lead they've had. And we see Falcon's really cool Red Wing, his mechanical Falcon that flies around and has a camera and stuff. I thought that was really cool, because in the comics, it's an actual Falcon that he telepathically speaks to, but I think this fit a little bit better for more present day and more realistic, like his little mechanical thing. I thought that was really cool. They made Falcon much cooler in this movie, too, than I think he's been in the other movies. We see him, they get a lead on crossbones, and they start this whole fight scene in the city of Lagos. And the fight scene there, starts the movie off really well. Really good action, really good fighting, hand-to-hand combat. You see Cap loses his shield, so he has an actual one-on-one fight with Crossbones. And he ends up beating him up pretty bad, so I thought it was a cool scene.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love seeing the team working together, especially when Scarlet Witch is just drinking the coffee casually with the hat, and then they're just talking, staking out. Again, I like seeing that team bonding aspect of it. It's really cool seeing them work together, especially when we see Scarlet Witch throwing Captain America. That's their, their cool fastball special, like the X-Men do when Colossus throws Wolverine. So I thought that was really cool seeing them work together, and then Cap just throwing the shield and beating the crap out of those guys. It was just an incredible action sequence. But again, as you just pointed out, we got to see Cap fighting Crossbones, and I really liked the fight, and it was cool, and it made sense in the story. I just personally wish that they would have killed one of the henchmen who would have been the bomb, because you set in the Winter Soldier, you set up Frank Grillo's character Rumlow as this big baddie that's going to happen, Crossbones, and he's pretty big baddie in the comics. And again, I'm not saying you got to do what the comics do, but I just would have liked a little more. Hey, we fleshed him out a little bit in the last movie. We set this character up. Let's. I mean, now we're just gonna kill him off right away in the beginning of the third movie.
And not even that he has to be in this movie anymore. It's just that he could possibly come back and later he breaks out of some prison. Or there's a big breakout or something.
And I understand we have to have Scarlet Witch throw him up there so there's collateral damage, but it could have been another henchman that had the bomb and then she threw him up and did the same thing, and then Frank Grillo goes into prison, Rumlow's character, but. One other thing I loved in this scene was when Red Wing saves Black Widow, and he said, "Don't thank me, thank him." And he's like, "I'm not thanking him."
Go on, pet him, pet him.
Yeah, pet him. Now, I thought that was great setup right there. I would have thought later in the film, a perfect setup, payoff would have been to that, is if later in the film, Red Wing would have saved Black Widow again, and then this time she actually acknowledges Red Wing. I just thought that would have been a cool little arc, but just a little.
It could have been in and got cut out, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe,
but,
yeah. I just think that would have been cool. But either way, I still love the inclusion of Red Wing. That scene was really cool. It was great showing the team again fighting and working as a team. But then we saw it's not all fun and games. There's collateral damage, that comes with this.
And a lot of people were complaining, like, oh, why wasn't Vision with them on this mission? I just think that, maybe they were trying to be a little more inconspicuous, a little more stealth, and he obviously could have, made things much easier for them, but they just didn't take him on this one,
I'm not going to give a reason why he wasn't there. I don't know, but also, if we remember in Ant-Man, Falcon, they went on a mission, and Falcon was the one waiting on the base when he fought with Ant-Man,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe it was one of those kind of scenarios where someone stays by. Who knows the reason? We get one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. We see Tony Stark, young Tony Stark, more like in the 80s, like in his back to school days, Weird Science days. But right when I saw it, it just really reminded me of Ant-Man when we saw Michael Douglas with his face CGI in that 1999, and also Steve Rogers in the first Captain America film when he's all skinny. But I love seeing this film. It shows, this scene, it really shows that Tony and his, at least the last conversation he had with his father, it was clearly a very bad conversation. It did not end well because this is a projection of what he wishes it would have been. And I love the acronym for it: binary, augmented, retro framing, or acronym BARF. God, I got to work on that. But I love that inclusion in the scene. And then also too, we got one of the guys from Community. Who wanted to, what did he want? Like hot dogs?
Yeah, self-cooking hot dog or something like that.
But I thought the scene, like, really, it made you understand Tony's motivation, because later in the scene, we see him meet with a character who's going to be now in Luke Cage, Alfie Woodford's character, and she's also, it's really a mirror image of Miriam Sharp in the comic book, so a little Easter egg there. Basically, Miriam tells Tony that you killed my son in Sokovia. And I know a lot of people are like, well, if the Avengers didn't come there, then everyone dies. I completely agree with that. But she's got a case when she says to Tony, you did kill my son. Who created Ultron? Oh, yeah, that was Tony Stark. And yes, it was for good reasons. He had a nightmare vision, thanks to Scarlet Witch, that Thanos and everyone was coming. So his reasons for doing it are fine. But in reality, he did create Ultron, and Ultron did kill the people in Sokovia. So when she says, you killed my son, she has actual truth, and there's meaning behind that. She's actually right. If she said that to Captain America or someone else, that would be wrong, because they tried to save them, and it was Tony's mess. So Tony has you understand his motivation in this film. Like, he's haunted by that decision. And again, he was just trying to do the right thing. He was just trying to have planetary, a defense for in case Thanos or anything came. So you understand both sides of this and where that mother's coming from. Because as we saw in the first few films, that Tony Stark said, he wants nothing to do with the government. Now he's pulled a 180, and now he thinks they need to be kept in check. Clearly this woman hit him or losing her son really hit Tony in a hard spot. So I like seeing that character arc and why he would shift and understanding his motivation.
Well, Tony's just been feeling really, really guilty already, even before that conversation, and that just put the nail in the coffin. Yeah. So he'd been feeling guilty, obviously, for, like you said, Ultron, what's happening in New York too. And then now we see from his little presentation that Pepper's not there with him, so we don't really know that they're broken up yet, but we can kind of guess. Right. Because the woman says, oh, we didn't know she canceled, and you see he looks all sad.
Right.
But then when she tells him this, that really, really drives it home for him that, they need to be, as he says, put in check. And it kind of, like, skews his perception a little bit, but it kind of sets the tone for how this movie's going to go.
Yeah, no, you got a good point, because, we'll go over it in the scene with General Ross, but obviously this would end the movie in 2 seconds, but if I were talking to Tony, I'd be like, so Tony, you want the government to intervene? How did the government do when they intervened in the Battle of New York? Oh, wait, they sent a missile that you had to throw in the Warmo? Yeah, I'm not trusting them after that. How did the government do in the Winter Soldier? Oh, they invaded Hydra? Yeah, that's strike 2. How's the government, again, there's 2 bad examples right there of how the government works. So right there, that's 2 red flags. But again, then there's no movie. But that's what I would have said if I was Captain Tony.
So we're back at the Avengers base, and we see Wanda looking at the news. She's feeling terrible for throwing the bomb of Rumlow up into that building, killing a bunch of people. Captain America comes in, turns off the TV. He's like, stop looking at that. It wasn't your fault. But she obviously knows it kind of was, even though it happened so quickly. And Cap tries to reassure, saying, "Oh no, it was my fault. I'm the one who didn't defuse the bomb." He said Bucky, and I just became a 16-year-old kid from Brooklyn again. So it's kind of a bonding moment there. They're all feeling down, and then we see Vision come through the wall. I thought that's hilarious. It kind of like breaks up the tension a little bit. And Wanda calls him Viz, which I thought is kind of telling because they're starting to have this relationship too. That's more like a nickname kind of thing. But he comes through the wall and he's like, "Oh, but the door was open." I just thought that was funny. He's wearing like a cardigan.
No, I completely agree with you. I love seeing Cap when he's like reassuring Wanda. I mean, he's being a good leader there. He's accepting accountability for the team, like saying, "Look, it's my fault too. It's not just you." A piece of crap could have just said, "Yeah, you're right. It is your fault." So again, I like seeing again more team bonding moment, good character moments for them. And then, like you said, when Vision comes through the wall, I love how they're humanizing him with the clothes he's wearing. And then we'll get to it later in the paprika scene. But the dialogue, and again, the dialogue in this film by Marcus and McFeely is really crisp. I love some of the lines, like you said, where I became a 16-year-old kid, and then where she says, "Viz, I thought we talked about this, not phasing through the wall." He goes, "But the door was open." Like again, like you said, breaking the tension, the comedic timing in this film. And the comedic elements, they're very well timed. I always say I don't mind comedy when it's out of place, because I always love a good laugh. But when it does feel out of place, it usually feels like you're watching a movie rather than a set of events. And in this film, a lot of times it just hits perfectly on the nail. So again, I love basically all Vision's lines. I can't think of many lines where I'm like, huh? But I love that part of Vision. Then I love where he's like, "Oh, I'll walk through the door." Then so just good stuff there. And then Vision obviously then tells Captain America that Tony Stark has come in, and then we get the whole scene of General Ross basically going over all the events, of all the destruction. And then I would tell General Ross, I agree, there was definitely collateral damage. What would have happened if there was no Avengers there? There'd be no planet, dude. So what do you complain?
Well, yeah, especially in New York, you can't blame them at all. I mean, that's just Loki coming through with the T'Chari.
Yeah, no, you're right, but I did think there was one really interesting shot in the Battle of New York. I noticed it the third time I saw this film. You see someone like holding up their phone, recording, and the Hulk is jumping from building to building, and the bricks.
Debris.
The debris falls on the person filming, and I'm assuming they die when from a 200-foot building like that. So, and again, Hulk wasn't trying to kill anyone; he was just trying to stop the Chitauri. But
it's still damage everywhere he goes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and now you understand more of Bruce Banner's reasoning. I need to get away. I can't not hurt people or damage things. So, it builds more into that motivation. Just that little glimpse right there. Now, also, I love when General Ross says to them, "Do you know where Thor and Dr. Banner are?" Captain, if I misplaced a couple 30 megaton nukes, you could be sure there'd be some consequences. But it's true. That's a good line. But I think the interesting part of this entire scene, who's the most talkative person in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on the Avengers team? Tony Stark. He didn't say one word in this entire thing. He was like,
well, he's the one who brought Ross in, so he knows that,
But my point is, like, you can tell where his feelings are and what he's exactly thinking on his face. All he's thinking about is that the people, the collateral damage, and that one kid. I think Miriam's, like we said, Miriam's son. I think it was Charlie Spencer was his name in the film. But that's all you can see is on his mind. He feels so much guilt. And again, if I was Cap, and then I know it would ruin the movie, I would just say, you are the one who created Ultron. You are the one who needs to be kept in check. I understand where you're coming from, but and again, Cap did allude to it. You're giving away, you're stopping our choice of freedom when you make us sign these. I get that. Again, if Cap would have just really instructed, you're the one who created Ultron, it's just, what can Tony possibly say about that? I get it. Some of the other events, Tony didn't create Ultron, and even Tony stopped the Battle of New York through the wormhole, but I just meant that was the last nail in the coffin. Obviously, before Lagos was in Sokovia, and again, Tony was the one who was responsible, and the team came up and cleaned up his mess. So, but again, you understand both sides, and what I loved about the scene, it kept pulling you into both, between both sides. You're like, I understand Cap's side after what just happened in Winter Soldier. How the heck is he supposed to trust any more government agencies? And also, I loved his line where he said, "What if we need to go somewhere that we don't agree with and they send us there? What if there's a catastrophic event that we need to go to and they don't send us there?" I'm sorry, Cap is 110% right. The safest hands are still their own. So,
and especially his. I mean, he's the one who is really going to make the right decision just about every time. So I feel like you said, the government is going to have agendas, and Cap, he might have an agenda, but it's going to be for the greater good of everybody.
Yeah.
And as we see, the events of Sokovia directly lead into the villain's motivations in this movie, which is Zemo. We get his first scene in Cleveland, where we just see this really shady looking guy with a gun in a really dark room, and you see the car crash in. He comes in. I thought it was a cool opening scene for him. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was, gonna kill this guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he finds that briefcase in the wall and finds that red book that they use to control Winter Soldier. I really love his lines in this part. Like, he's telling him that he wants
the mission report.
He wants the mission report. He's not a part of Hydra, and he's like, you'd only be dying for your pride. I don't really want to kill you, but the guy won't give him anything.
Yeah.
So he ends up, and basically Zemo says, I have experience and I have patience. A man can do anything if he has those. I really love that line.
Yeah, no, I thought a good introduction to this character. Obviously, we don't understand his motivations yet. We're just getting the introduction. But just really quick, I like you said, the lines that stood out to me, patience and experience, and a man can do anything with those two. It just made me understand, okay, this guy's pretty smart already. And then obviously later in the film, he gets more fleshed out. But again, I just thought a good introduction, not going way over the top like, I'm the bad guy. I'm going to end the world. Just a nice, simple scene showing he's a high IQ villain and he's got a plan. So a good introduction, as you just mentioned. Now we go back to the Avengers base where they are discussing the Accords, as we talked about. I like the banter between Rhodey and Sam, where he's like,
it's a really cool shot too. You see Captain America right in the middle, and then Rhodey's here and Sam's here, and it looks like they're like on his shoulders, like angel and devil kind of. I got that vibe from that. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's a cool visual shot. I noticed because they're literally right above his shoulders. So.
Yeah, no. Now that you're mentioning that kind of makes sense. But I just like the banter between the scene, and again, as we mentioned a little earlier, just pulling you between both sides. Like, who do I agree? They're both right, kind of in senses. But I loved what Vision was saying. Like,
it's like I have an equation. He basically says, the amount of superpowered people number has increased, and also the number of world-ending threats has increased. So maybe there's some sort of causality there, which kind of makes sense. I mean, he's saying it breeds competition, so more people might be coming for us. But I mean, I kind of think he's right, and at the same time, I kind of think it may be just coincidence. I mean, it's obviously a cinematic universe that they're creating now, but like you said, there's more superheroes popping up, and there's more supervillains popping up at the same time. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then the part that obviously hits you the hardest, as the audience, is when Tony shows them as that kid.
Right.
I forget, was Charlie Spencer?
Yeah.
Charles Spencer, I think his name was. But again, you understand the emotional tie that's creating Tony to want to be in check from the government. Again, Cap is right when he says, "But Tony, you made that choice. You're taking away our choice when you do this." Like. I kept on going, even though I was agreeing with Iron Man a lot, I just kept on going, I'm sorry, I agree with Cap definitively after everything that we've seen.
So yeah, then Captain America gets a text saying she passed in her sleep, and we shoot over to London, and we see that they're at Peggy Carter's funeral. Yeah. And Cap's a pallbearer, you see him crying, really hurt. This was the last person that he's known from his time other than Bucky, but so he's feeling really hurt. And then we see Sharon come up, start giving a speech. Cap obviously didn't know that she was Peggy's niece, but she tells him that she didn't want it to be known that they were related, so she kept it hidden. But she gives a speech talking about with Peggy how to get ahead in a world where women can't really get ahead like in the 1940s and stuff. So she says, when you can compromise, do, but when you can't, don't, and don't budge, and keep your ground, stand your ground, and just stay strong. And I thought that really hit home with Captain America. Over these Accords issues, he's like, no, this is what I believe in, and I'm not going to budge.
This is clearly an Easter egg and a line from the comics when Captain America says the exact same thing to Spider-Man. So, but I thought it fit this story, the movie here, and the plot so well because Cap is, as we just said, trying to make a big decision about what to do with the Avengers because he knows this is going to change the team forever. For me personally, my favorite relationship in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far has been Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers. So right when he got the text, I knew immediately who they were talking about when it said she passed in her sleep because we saw in Winter Soldier she was having old dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever she had. So I knew immediately who they were talking about, and that you kind of got a little bit of a tear flowing down for me personally. And I just thought that line was just so proper and made so much sense for that scene. And again, I love seeing the reveal of Sharon Carter. Jason mentioned in one of our other reviews that if you watch The Winter Soldier, she actually says when she's being neighbors with Cap that my wild aunt or my aunt or something. My crazy aunt on the phone. Yeah, so they kind of, again, as Marvel always does, and we're going to talk about it a few times here, they plant seeds and then they let it blossom and then they show it to us. So. Again, cool little thing showing Sharon Carter then. And again, it's a great scene. And then the capper for me on that great scene is when Black Widow comes there and says, "I don't want to talk about the Accords. I'm not here for that. I'm here because I know you need a friend right
I didn't
now."
want you to be alone.
Yeah.
So
I
they get
mean,
that nice moment with their
yeah,
hugging.
and again, that chemistry and a relationship. Obviously, they've had 2 Avengers films, but the bond that they connected
Winter
with in Winter Soldier,
Yeah.
like I would have been questioning, like, where is she? Why isn't she as a friend? So that was just again very proper, good writing again, good character building moment, good again, just the scene. This film has got so many scenes that, away from the action, that are such good character building moments that when the action does come, you care that much more because you're so invested in these characters. So another great scene right
And
there.
it's also setting up too later on in the movie where she actually is going to help out Captain America later on, even though she's on Tony's side, in that whole fight. But she ends up helping helping Cap later on. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And then right after that, we get to Vienna, I believe, and then obviously we get to the Sokovia Accords now, and then we get to see the big reveal, T'Challa. I remember in our theater, everyone erupted
was
just from seeing the
cheering,
back. So and
Yep.
I was too, because I love Chadwick Boseman. He was incredible in this. But getting back to the scene, we see T'Challa in there, and then him and Black Widow are talking. I like how he's talking about. She's like, "You don't approve of this?" He's like, "Of the Accords, yes. Of politics, no." Two people in one room can get more done than 100. I know my Wakanda accent sucks too. But
Well,
anyways,
he's a warrior too. He's not really a politician,
Yeah.
so he wants to take physical action versus diplomatic action.
yeah, and it's actually a great line. 2 people in one room can get more accomplished than 100. So it just made sense there. I like that line. And then we see his father T'Chaka coming in. I love the bond and the mutual like respect that T'Challa has for his father, and I like just that little moment where he says thank you to him and then he gives him the little kiss. Like it's such a good little moment right there. And obviously, I mean we kind of knew what was going to happen there in the next few moments, and then we get the big explosion, and then T'Challa tried to save his father. Just crazy or not action sequence, but just a crazy defining moment right there for T'Challa.
Yeah, and you see him holding his father, like, crying and just
Yeah.
like being in shock, disbelief. But yeah, it was a cool scene. And when we're outside, we see Black Widow try to comfort him a little bit. She's like, "I'm very sorry. We're gonna get the people who did this," and he's like, "No, I'll
Don't
kill them
bother.
myself."
I'll kill him myself. Yeah, no, for sure. That was really good moment right there, just showing like he's not going to stop. Now you understand the motivation and reasoning behind that is because he feels that he's the one who killed his father. So I thought that was a good little, character building motivation moment right there for T'Challa. Then right after that, we get into Steve Rogers walking Sharon Carter back to her hotel room to the elevator. I thought it was a good little moment, between them where they're talking about, I've been meaning to ask you when you were spying on me, you mean doing my job? And he's like, did you ever tell your aunt? And she's like, I didn't want to keep another secret from her. So like that makes sense. She had a lot of secrets. I didn't want to have this one be another secret she had to keep from you. So it made total sense there. I like the conversation between them. Then we see Sam come in and say, you got to see this. And then
We see the events of what happened on the news, and we see a picture of Bucky, of Bucky being framed by Zemo, but so basically setting up Bucky right there, and Cap obviously knows, like, shit, I gotta go help him, and Sharon gives him the information on where he's at, but she's like, yeah, we're gonna shoot on site, so you better hurry up.
Yeah, but then right after that, Cap gets on the phone with Black Widow and then talks about what she says, do not get involved in this. Like, I know how much Bucky means to you, but you're only going to make this worse. And then he says, are you saying you're going to arrest me? And she says, no, but someone will. And then I love Cap's line where he says, what he said something like, if anyone's going to have a chance to bring him in, it's going to be me.
Yeah, because I'm the one least likely to die trying.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that line was very appropriate. Made total sense in that moment right there. Again, just more diving back into Bucky from Winter Soldier and also from First Avengers, showing how much he means to Captain America. So again, if it wasn't his friend or didn't care for him, he's not going to go and risk his life for him or risk going to prison for him. So he believes in his friend, and I love that. After the events of what just happened in Winter Soldier, even though Bucky did save him and Cap does understand he was brainwashed, he doesn't know what to believe at this point. So I love that Cap goes on blind faith and loves and trusts his friend in that moment. And then we get Bucky. Where are we in? It's not Romania.
Bucharest.
It's Bucharest. And then he's ordering getting some food or some fruit or something like a normal super soldier does during the day. So that was really cool. And then we see him. That guy kind of runs away from him at the newsstand, and he's like, "What the heck?" And then he sees on the newspaper that he's a wanted man for a bombing in Vienna, that he wasn't even in Vienna. So now he knows he's a wanted man. And then we get right to Cap in his
apartment.
And then right when we see, I knew that shot when we got the close up of Cap. I knew he was going to be right behind him. It was a great little shot right there. But the action in this scene is incredible.
Yeah, the stairwell fight. Yeah,
yeah, it really reminded me of the Raid 2 and also of Daredevil. Where I mean, it wasn't on one shot. It did blink a few times the camera and pan to a next shot for sure. I'm not saying it was one shot like Birdman or something like that, but like I just loved how taking it from the top level to the taking it down, and they just messed up that stairwell in a sick way. And also too, I love how Cap was trying to save. I mean, Bucky wasn't trying to kill anyone, but one of the cops accidentally almost fell, or the SWAT officers, and Cap's like, "Come on, man." So just again, a little funny tension build, a breaking moment right there. But again, the action in this, and again, because of the great the airport action sequence and obviously the climactic action sequence, I feel like this scene and the first action scene we talked about, I feel like they get a little shoved on the side.
Maybe, but this is kind of a compound action scene where we get the stairwell fight, and then he jumps onto the roof, and we get him and Black Panther fighting, and then Cap is running after them, and that whole chase scene. So, yeah. I mean, this is definitely one of the bigger action scenes in the movie, I'd say. I mean, it maybe doesn't live up to those other two, but it's still right amazing. There. I mean... Yeah. And it's cool because like we see Bucky jumping off and like grabbing the beams or whatever, fighting Cap, like you said, Cap saving people, and then that sick jump onto the roof. And when he gets there, we see the introduction of Black Panther which I thought was really awesome.
With his vibranium suit.
Yeah, the vibranium suit, and we see his shadow coming in right after Bucky, and he pounces on him. They get that whole fight sequence right there.
So good.
Really good hand-to-hand combat, and just finally seeing Black Panther just fighting Winter Soldier, man, that was a really cool fight to kick him off in this movie series. So I really like that. We see Cap running after them. That whole chase scene in the tunnel was really, really cool. And we see Winter Soldier grab that motorcycle and turn it over.
Amazing.
That was and the sound just I thought that was really cool right there.
Definitely.
And then that kind of comes to the scene where Cap he crashes the car and it's spinning around. He runs after them and then tackles Black Panther. But then all the cops convene on that, or go around them, and War Machine comes in. I don't know if I like that line though. Congratulations, Cap. You're a criminal. It was okay.
I like the "you're a criminal," but I don't know about congratulations. Like, wasn't this guy your friend and your teammate?
Well, he was being sarcastic.
I know, but it's like, it's your friend. Are you gonna be? I don't know, but I feel you. I did like "you're a criminal." I thought that line was appropriate, and then I also love the line that War Machine says to T'Challa, Black Panther,
Your Highness.
Your Highness.
Yeah.
Like, because they're all like, "What the heck? The King of Wakanda is a badass and he's fighting." But also too, the action, the chase scene in that is incredible. I love when all three of them are running.
And the camera's panning.
It's an incredible. I love it.
Makes them look so fast.
It really does. And then we get another. I'm telling you, the Russo brothers love referencing the crappy 1990 Captain America film starring Matt Salinger. What happened in that film? He stole a car from Otis and Superman, Ned Beatty's character. And basically in the second film, she says, "Where did Captain America learn how to steal a car?" There was an Easter egg to that. And in this film, he jumps on an Audi, steals it again. So the Russo brothers love making Easter references to that crap film. But it was really cool seeing Cap get into that car, again, go after Black Panther. And then, again, when that was just an incredible action sequence. Just seeing him tackle Black Panther, just seeing Black Panther on
the
screen.
The car spinning behind him.
But just seeing Black Panther on the screen visually for the first time, I gotta tell you too, that outfit, that costume, it might be one of my new favorite costumes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I love that Black Panther, that vibranium costume.
It's really sleek, cool. Like with the black and silver and that necklace.
It is so cool. I love it. I'm really hoping, I could be speculating here, I'm really hoping, because obviously the team's going to have to come together, all of them, when Thanos comes in Infinity Wars. I'm really hoping now that Cap, which we'll go later in the scene-by-scene breakdown, now that Cap is basically joined allegiances with Black Panther, I'm hoping at some point in the future in one of those Infinity War films, he gives everyone a vibranium suit. Give Spider-Man a vibranium suit. Give Iron Man a vibranium suit. Give everyone a
vibranium Iron Man. That would be like the super silver suit that he has. That'd be crazy.
And also a Spider-Man vibranium suit. All of them. Like, if they look as sick as the Black Panther suit with that material, with Cap's shield material, hell yeah. Anyways, just getting back to this. Again, great introduction to Black Panther, and I'm just on board with Black Panther. I can't wait for that solo film being directed by Brian Coogler in 2 years. So, all right, so next we get the scene of Vision. I thought he was like on a cooking channel or something. He's making like, by the way,
cardigan.
Yeah, I would watch Vision on a cooking channel making paprika. What I'm down. I would watch that. That looked interesting. Anyways, getting back.
Wanda comes in with him too.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, getting back to this, I thought it was really cool seeing like how they're humanizing the character of Vision. He wants to be more human. He's got from the cardigan, from the sweatshirt he's wearing, to making paprika, to just the way he speaks to Wanda. But later we learn in the scene that he's holding Wanda on house arrest on Tony's orders because they don't want another event or unfortunate event to happen like what happened in Lagos. So again, I understood the scene. It made total sense. I really felt bad for Wanda because she felt like a caged animal that would not be let go or let out of her cage. But you could feel Vision, like he felt bad about it, but he just wanted to keep her safe.
He's trying to comfort her too.
Yeah.
Making something familiar for her to eat, even though he says, I've never eaten anything before, so more comedic relief. He's not really sure how to say it, but he's like, no one dislikes you, blah blah blah. He's like,
thanks.
Yes, thanks. But then, like you said, when she tries to leave, he's holding her under house arrest, and he feels really bad about it. And she asks him, what do you want? And he says the line, for people to see you the way I do. So that's when you really know that they have something going.
Oh, yeah.
That they've been building up the last few scenes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I would say the first time they really planted the seed of them, going to be in a relationship. Because obviously in the comic...
Age of Ultron?
Yeah, Age of Ultron, when he catches her and saves her at the end of Sokovia where she's falling. Also, too, in the comics, they do get married. They do have android babies, which is what we all want to see, of course.
Yeah.
So, but no...
Android mutant babies.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I do like that, again, they're building that relationship up, so when we do see them get together, it's not, where did this come from? It's been building up a couple
kind of like
now,
Black Widow and the Hulk. I thought that was a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I guess that's more, I agree with you, but we'll get into that when we do our Age of Ultron review.
One thing that I just kind of realized that I just noticed in this movie is that Wanda never uses any mind control powers in this whole movie. Like, I don't know if she was just feeling bad about everything to where she didn't want to do that. Not that she was going to mind control Vision or anything, but... how she does that all with everyone in Age of Ultron. We were just talking about that, but she never uses that in this movie. And they make no mention of Quicksilver in this movie. I thought...
I agree with you.
I thought Vision maybe could have thrown in something like, oh, I know you're feeling bad about your brother. Just something quick, like not talking about him really, but just kind of mentioning it.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe it would have been nice for her to mind control some... I mean, she obviously stopped the mind gem with Vision in the scene we'll get to a little later, but, in terms of mind controlling, like we saw what she did to the guys on Wakanda in that boat with Claw and all them. Yeah, no, it would have been cool to see that, but again, there's so much going on in this film. I understand why, why they did.
It was just something I noticed.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I wish it would have been there.
But the Quicksilver thing, I would have liked one, maybe a little mention, maybe when Cap is comforting or when Vision's comforting her, just saying, like, I feel the loss of my brother so much. Like, I wanted to feel that hole in her, and even though sometimes expressively I could see it on Elizabeth Olsen, she does feel that hole from the loss of her brother from the previous, or from Avengers Age of Ultron. I just would have liked just a little mention or just even a little more talk. Maybe it's in deleted scenes or something and they didn't have time to maybe even make a quick mention. But I agree with you. It would have been nice just to have a little mention of that. But then we get to Berlin and now the Winter Soldier is being transported. I love the moment in it's between Sam Wilson, Black Panther, and Cap. They're in the back of a truck and he's like, so you like cats? What, he dresses up like a cat. You can't ask him? It's just, again, good comedic timing and banter. I gotta tell you, I mean, I love all the actors.
I thought T'Challa should be like, yeah, and you're a bird, I'm gonna eat you,
Yeah, that would have been funny. But just, again, I know I'm probably gonna say this a lot more. I love all the characters and actors in this, but I really love Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. He's just amazing.
He was a step up from when he's been in Winter Soldier.
And Ant-Man?
And Ant-Man.
I know, 10 seconds,
yeah.
I know. I'm just
it was a cool scene in Ant-Man, too. Yeah. But, they definitely made him more badass in this movie. But, yeah, like you said, a good chemistry between all of them. Even more, like, character building, starting a little bit of a rift between them, obviously. And then T'Challa says, I'm a king and I'm a warrior. How long do you think you can keep him from me? Yeah. Talking about Bucky, so...
Yeah, no, again, it just a good little moment there, and also it just shows Cap, like, your friend is not safe from me. Like, and you just, even though we didn't get into a long fight, you saw, like, what I'm packing and that I'm the King of Wakanda. Like, I'm not going to stop going after this guy. I'm not just a random pedestrian. So, again, just a little good motivation for Cap knowing, okay, I got to protect my friend at all costs. Or at least figure out the truth about what's going on right now. Why does this guy want to, even though he knows that it's because his father was killed, he wants to uncover, too, like, what the heck really happened there, because he knows that, I mean...
He knows it wasn't Bucky. I mean, Captain America in his gut knows that it wasn't him.
Yeah,
so.
Obviously...
And when they go to his apartment, he tells him, like, I didn't kill those people, Steve, or I wasn't in Vienna. I wasn't in Vienna, so...
Yeah.
I mean,
He trusts that.
he believes his friend.
Blind faith that he's doing to trust his friend. Again, I love that. I love that about Steve, that he trusts his friends. So, and he believes in them. It's the sign of a great leader and a good friend. So then we get to seeing Bilbo Baggins, excuse me, rather Everett Ross, played by Martin Freeman in the film. I gotta tell you, I loved his American accent. It was really good. Then we see Bucky is in the container. If you look on it, there's a clear Easter egg to the D23 Expo. It says like Gate D or something 23.
Yeah.
But it says D23. I completely noticed it each time I saw it. So that was a cool little nod and Easter egg to the Disney Expo. But then really quick, we see after that Tony's on the phone with with Undersecretary Thunderbolt Ross, played by William Hurt, and that I guess he wants Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers like prosecuted for not for stopping Winter Soldier from being killed and intervening. So and then Tony says, well, we'll give them consequences, something like that. He's like, consequences? He's like, I had to say something. He's like, I'm not getting the shield back, am I? And then he's like, what's in it? Black Widow, she makes fun of Red Wing, said, yeah, you're not getting back I forgot what you said. And he's like, oh, that's cold. But again, you're making that mention of Red Wing. That's when I said earlier, it would have been nice if she acknowledged Red Wing later in the film if he actually saved her. Just again, you added a little more there. I just thought it would have really again, it's not a big deal. Just a little thing I would have thought would have been a cool little extra arc for Black Widow accepting Red Wing. So, but again, I love that scene again. And then we see Tony is really trying to tell Cap, look, forget everything that just happened. I'll send Bucky to a mental asylum to be cared for.
A better prison, not max facility.
Not a Wakanda prison. And all you got to do, just sign the accords. And I like that thing he says to him. He goes, it's like a timely piece. Marvel Comics, before it was called Marvel Comics, was called Timely Comics. So that was a little clear Easter egg to that. But just again, I love that scene between Cap and Iron Man, just trying to make him sign the accords. And he's also talking about making Wanda Maximoff, getting her what did he say again?
Well, that they're kind of on the same page, and Cap's starting to come over to his side, but then he basically tells him that Wanda's being held prisoner. And that's when Cap kind of like, you know what, Tony, you always do this. And Tony's trying to prove his side. He's like, she's in this big giant mansion with a spa and stuff. There's worse places to be kept safe.
Yeah.
And you can call it whatever you want, but, I'm not agreeing with you. I'm not signing. I wouldn't want to break up the set. He leaves the pen.
Yeah. And then I like Tony. Sorry, I like Tony's face too. And like I had him and then like I lost him here. But continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. I mean, it's the final breaking point, or not the breaking point, but the last chance for them to get him to sign the accords, but Cap holds strong in his beliefs. He won't sign him. So
yeah, and then also too, we make we find out that Steve asked Tony about Pepper. Yeah, and that's where we find out that they're taking a break, and understandably so. After Iron Man 3, he destroyed all the Iron Man suits. Kind of sound like a little bit of an apology about Iron Man 3 in that scene. Like, I destroyed all my Iron Man suits, and then because I remember after that film, he destroyed all the suits, and then he's back with the Avengers again in Age of Ultron, understandably so because of the Hydra stuff. But it's just I like how they mentioned this. It kind of validated Iron Man 3. Like, I destroyed my suits, and then I promised Pepper I'd be done. But the truth is, I don't want to stop. And then he made mention then the Hydra stuff happened, so I had to come back. And then like we just said, Sokovia. And the truth is I don't want to stop. But I like what he said about Pepper. He's like, in her defense, I'm a handful. But so my dad was a handful, and mom and him made it work. So, but again, I like that, and I mean that's a very meaningful relationship for me personally in the MCU. So but I thought this made sense. Like everything that's happening, it would make sense that they broke up. But I like that what Tony said right after that. I thought signing the accords would split the difference. So I thought a good line.
Just more motivation for Tony to want to be signing these. But so then we see Zemo interviewing Bucky. He's obviously works his way into. I don't know how he worked himself into the base, but he made it happen. But he would see him interviewing Bucky. He's like, "Is that your name, James?" He's like, "No, my name's Bucky." But he's asking him about. He's like, I don't want to know about your past. I just want to know one thing. And then we see it cut to another scene where this package is being delivered, and it's the bomb that Zemo had in his apartment, and it goes off and destroys all the power lines. So all the power in the prison goes out, and then he busts out that red book, and then Bucky just sees us like, oh no, not again. So he says the words. And while he's saying it, Bucky's trying to break out. He basically does break out, but right when he finishes saying the last of the words, it's too late. So he says, ready to comply. And then Sharon Carter tells Cap what wing, the prison is on, so he goes there. And we see then basically they go in and fight, and Winter Soldier breaks out, and that whole fight's another cool fight scene with all that. But it was really cool seeing Bucky like really hating the fact that he knows he's gonna have to be Winter Soldier again. Just that pain in his eyes, like not again. I thought that was cool seeing that from Bucky's perspective because we hadn't really seen that part of it before.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, you can see in Bucky's face and Sebastian Stan's like, stop messing with my brain. Stop it. So, no, and you could feel his pain, like the way he's just breaking out of there for sure. I thought it was a great moment. And then seeing Zemo, you could see that manipulative, like that evil grin on him. Like, again, the performance by Daniel Bruhl, just the way he subtly goes about it. I love this character. He's one of my favorite MCU villains. Also, too, I like later in the scene when Cap and Sam get to the scene, we see Zemo's pretending to be injured on the ground, and then Cap just right away grabs and says, "What do you want? What are you doing here?" Like, and then he's like, "I want to see." What did he say? "I want to see the Avengers fall."
I want to see the end of an empire, or something like that. The fall of an empire.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, the fall of an empire. But again, I like that right there. You're understanding. Okay, this guy's coming right after the Avengers. Maybe, possibly. It's not just about Bucky. Like, he gives you a little tell in that subtext in that line. It's about the fall of an empire. So I like that right there. And then we see Bucky immediately just throws Sam, and then him and Steve are getting into a little bit of a hand-to-hand fight right there. And then he throws him down an elevator shaft. And then Sam runs after Zemo. Then we see Tony, Black Widow, and Sharon Carter go after the Winter Soldier. But right before he does that, they do that. I love when Black Widow says to him, "Please tell me you brought a suit." Yeah, I wore. What was the line?
Yeah, it's a nice three-piece button-up or something like that. Basically saying it's just, yeah. Basically saying it's just he doesn't have a suit. He just has this nice suit on, but he has a little watch that has like a hand. But
that thing is sick.
Yeah, it was really cool. He shoots the kind of the sound waves at him, holding him back, and some really cool hand-to-hand combat with the gun, and he like shoots him, and you get Tony's face like in the trailer. But and then we get T'Challa coming out of it.
Yes.
He basically, not in his Black Panther suit, going head to head with Winter Soldier, who still has that vibranium arm, so he basically full suited up. But he kind of throws him away, and then he runs around the stairs and jumps back in front of him, and he gets that kind of like man up moment. I thought that was a really cool shot.
Yeah,
but just really, really good hand-to-hand combat, really cool fighting. It's really cool to see that T'Challa can hold his own without his suit. You know, he can go with Winter Soldier one-on-one. So I thought it was a really, really cool action scene. There's so many great action scenes in this movie. This is another one.
Yeah, no, you just nailed it perfectly. It would have been great to see T'Challa like fighting with the Black Panther suit there, but I thought it was such a better decision to show him fighting out of costume. Like, damn, he can kick Bucky over without the suit. He's got mad skills. Like you said, he's a Wakanda warrior. So I love seeing, like, he's a badass without, the suit, it protects him, but he's a badass without the suit. So I love seeing that.
And he wants Bucky. He thinks maybe this is his chance.
Yeah,
he wants Bucky
exactly.
Dead, so.
He thinks, as we mentioned earlier, that Bucky is the man who murdered his father.
Well, because when he's talking with Zemo, they show a quick glimpse of that picture, and so that we kind of are validated that Zemo is the one who set up Bucky.
Yeah.
So and I know we get that information later on too, but it's a quick little glimpse to show you that he's the one who did this. So.
Yeah. And then right after that, still staying on that same action scene, Bucky then gets to a helicopter, and as he's about to pull away, Steve Rogers decides he wants to do some bicep curls with a helicopter. I know, I felt so weak and puny when I was watching this in the theater. I went like this. Aww. Damn, I'm so weak. Anyways, so then that is one of the cool, just to see him, how do you write that on a page? He's going to bicep curl a helicopter. It's so brilliant, these writers.
And then Bucky knows he can't get away, so he just goes into him, and you see him like roll out of it and duck underneath the other side of the helicopter.
I was a little confused about, like, so now Bucky is, I mean, we'll get into it when we get to the scene, but now Bucky goes into the water, and then he's not the Winter Soldier anymore.
We see him go into the water and hit his head really hard on the glass. And as we've seen it from Avengers, the way to get out of mind control is to get hit in the head really, really hard.
But those were different mind controls, right?
Still, but I mean, I think it's a theme that they've been saying. So
I guess that could have been part of the experimental process. They maybe used Loki's scepter for doing that to Bucky over the years, right?
Did they have Loki's scepter at that time?
No, they didn't. You're right. They only had the Tesseract. Maybe they used the Oh wait, they must have used the Tesseract then to because they had the Tesseract.
But can the Tesseract cause mind control? I thought it's just because Loki Scepter is the
Yeah, no,
Mind
you're
Stone.
right. You're right. That's
Tesseract
you're
is
right.
the
That's
Space
the
Stone.
Space
So,
Stone. No, you're right. You're right.
but anyways, he gets hit really hard and knocked out. So maybe that's what did it.
Yeah, so right after that, really quickly, it's literally a 1 minute scene, we see Zemo. He's in the airport, I believe, and he's listening to a voice message from his wife saying, about saying that the son misses him. Because, again, I think he was with the Sokovian Death Squad, so he's, like, away from his family a lot of times when he's working. So his wife was just calling to tell him that, we miss you, we love you, we want to see you soon, and that kind of thing. And then, but they make it seem like that they're still alive, and he's just listening to a voice.
Yeah, we really don't think too much of it. We just see him listening to a message. He's just eating or whatever. But
you're not sure what.
It definitely comes into play later on in the movie where we
yeah.
see him listening to that same message again, and we realize, his family's dead. So just more setup for Zemo, which I thought played a part in, his overall character arc. And then we see him back in that warehouse where his arm is in that vice.
The after credit scene to Ant-Man.
Yeah, he gets that arm in the vice, and him and Captain America and Sam come in, and he's like, do you know who you are? He's like,
your mom's name was Sarah.
You used to wear newspapers in your shoes. You see him laughing. So
no, and then I
can't learn that in the museum.
Yeah, and then I love Sam's line. So just like that, we're supposed to be cool. Again, good tension-breaking moments there with the funny dialogue. So again, the dialogue in this film, you're gonna keep hearing me say it. It's so good.
It's one of the best parts of the movie. As good as the action is, the
script,
the dialogue, the script,
it's amazing.
And all the character building in this movie.
That's why I'm just looking so much more forward to Avengers Infinity. We got the same writers coming back
with more characters.
Yeah, and for me, I know
higher stakes.
And I know some people didn't love First Avenger after watching it several times, especially recently. I love the first Avenger a lot more now too. That everything's played out. But I'm so excited to see these guys come back, and especially the Russo brothers too. So, but back to this scene, I like seeing just that again, seeing Bucky's back to normal, and then they're talking about like, what do we do? Like, will Tony help us? I don't even think the Accords will let him. And then then we get obviously our first mention of Ant-Man when Sam Wilson says, "I know a guy." If you'd seen Ant-Man, you'd know exactly who he was talking about. Obviously, you're going to find out in a few minutes anyways who he's speaking to, but if you'd seen Ant-Man, you'd know exactly who he's referring to in that scene. But again, I just thought it was a good, like, we're in some deep crap right here, and like, what the heck do we do? And now we have to resort to a guy we don't even know who can shrink to this size. So it was just an interesting scene, and I enjoyed it.
And then Steve asks him what that guy, Zemo, was talking to him about. He's like, oh, he wanted to know about Siberia and all that stuff, and he tells him that there's more Winter Soldiers like me. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And we get that scene where I like how they do this thing. He doesn't just tell him the story. We kind of see the whole story. We see 1991 in Siberia, and they show like all these other Winter Soldiers and how they kind of break out of their own control. And it's just more backstory of these Winter Soldiers.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I thought obviously something was going to allude to Baron wanting to use those Winter Soldiers.
Well, yeah, that's what they kind of set up.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and I love the twist.
I like how they make you think that this is Zemo's plan. It's kind of validating Zemo's plan, and it's making them think that he wants to use these people for destruction, like not just to break up the Avengers, to actually cause world destruction,
And he knows that the Avengers are going to have to come work together to stop these 6 Winter Soldiers. Like, that's how he's making them think that he's going to free these 6 Winter Soldiers, allowing Bucky that information. So he kind of set it up. So for people saying this is a not well thought out villain and Marvel has not done a good villain again, sorry, I personally disagree with you, and I think you're wrong. Anybody who does not like this villain, again, that's fine. It's your opinion. I personally I understood the motivations. I thought the character was well written, and I thought the plan made sense. Yes, it was maybe a baby little convenient here and there, but it's a movie. There's got to be a little convenience somewhere. But I thought the plan worked. I wasn't questioning him too much. When we get into the scene, we'll talk about it more, but I was not questioning his plan or how he was going about manipulating the Avengers into fighting each other. I thought it worked well, and it was perfectly written and well balanced for me personally.
And we also see for the second time the scene where Winter Soldier pushes the car and makes it crash, and we see him grab those blue packets. So they're slowly building up that scene more and more and more throughout the movie.
Right, and you and we both know exactly who was in that car and what was happening, even though it had not been confirmed yet in the film. But again, the non-linear storytelling of building the tension of finding out who is in that car, I just thought very well done, because I'm sure for other people, not like us, who had no idea who was in the car, who's in the car? Well, I want to know who's in the car, and I'm sure that's what people were, thinking about in that moment. So again, good tension-building moment, good non-linear storytelling by the Russos and the writers Marcus and McFeely. I loved it.
So then we're back at the base, the water, is it the water prison?
I could be wrong. I think it's the Avengers base, but if it's the Raft prison, correct.
Well, wherever they're at with General Ross Tony's like, let me bring those guys in, and he's like, why should I trust you? But he's like, just give me 72 hours to bring them in, and Ross says, no, 36 hours.
Well, he said this time I won't be wearing a silk
Right,
shirt or something
right,
like
yeah,
that.
he'll be in his Iron Man suit.
Yeah, I like that
And
line.
yeah, Tony kind of makes a heart attack joke. He's like, I got a pain in my left arm. Is that normal?
My left arm is numb. Is that normal?
But he asked him, like, we could use a Hulk right about now. Do you think we got a shot? And Black Widow's like, do you really think he'd be on our side? And definitely not,
He'd
especially
be on the
General
government side. Yeah,
or General Ross.
right.
There's no way he wants anything to do with
way.
Ross. But they're like, yeah, we're severely understaffed. And and they're both like, oh, I have an idea. And Tony's like, where's yours? Downstairs. And she says, where's yours? And then we get that nice cut to Queens, where everyone in the theater erupted, even more than Black Panther.
Oh, yeah.
We know what's coming in Queens.
So yeah, as you just mentioned, we finally get to Queens, and we of course know who we're about to see, Peter Parker. I love that shot of him just walking into the apartment. He's got, he's got
a DVD player.
Got the DVD player. He's got his earphones in. He's your normal teenage average kid. And then he walks in to see his unusually attractive
as Tony
aunt,
says,
as Tony alludes to later. And it's also funny too because Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei, they had been in 2 films prior to this, and where they were both romantically linked in those films. So again, that's just a little bit of a joke too, because like, hey, I kind of dated your aunt in 2 other
movies.
movies.
The joke that Aunt May is usually really old, and she's like what, in her 50s maybe.
Yeah,
still looking really good.
As Jason just alluded to, in the Sam Raimi film, she was played by Rosemary Harrison. In the last 2 Amazing Spider-Man films, she was played by Sally Field. And Marissa Tomei is she's 51. It's not like she's 25
but
years old.
She's not like 70.
But yeah, she doesn't have gray white hair like most people envision with Aunt May, but I'm cool with this change. And I liked it, and again, right away, I love seeing, when Peter says, there's a really expensive car outside, and then he sees Tony, he's like, oh, hi, hey, he's like, yeah, we got to talk about that Grand. He's like, the Grand? Yeah, you didn't tell me about the Grand.
And he like gives him this weird little wink. Like,
yeah, he's like this. No, he goes like this.
Right away, the dynamic between Tony and Peter Parker is just hilarious and really good. I love the way that they did that.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's perfect for it, because Spider-Man is kind of a wisecracker, and so is Tony. It's perfect for them to be playing off each other like that.
Also, too, they're very, later in the scene, too, when Tony goes into his room, locks the door, and then spits out the, what was he eating? I forgot what it was, but it was just, then he starts talking and goes, is this you? And then you start showing him the Spider-Man clips, and he goes, dude, that's on YouTube. You can find that anywhere.
It was all done on the internet,
Yeah, and then, but I love the dialogue between them where Tony's getting an understanding of why does he do it, and he's just talking about when the bad things happen and you don't stop it, that's when you blame yourself. And me personally, I think he's talking about Uncle Ben there.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
Yeah, so like about that and just other events that happen when I could have been there to stop it, but I didn't. I chose to play football, or I chose to do whatever. And now he blames himself. So, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm glad they chose different words then. With great power comes great responsibility, because we've seen that 2 times, but still, that's enough. We all know the exact line, but
yeah, no, I agree.
And then Tony's like, "You're in major need of a suit upgrade."
With this onesie.
Yeah, exactly. But and I like how Spider-Man says also too, like, he uses those goggles because his senses are dialed up to 11. Sometimes it's too much information to take. It's a cool little it's more backstory to him. Like, this is sort of his Marvel origin story, but without having a full-on movie to say that.
Yeah, and sorry, the comedic banter and timing in this scene too is very.
I'm gonna sit there, so move your leg.
Yeah, that, and also when Tony puts on his goggles, like, how do you see it? Oh, like just a bunch of stuff in there, just really funny. And then again, just also, I love how Tony even though
he feels him out, he's like, "What's your MO? Like, why are you doing this?"
Well, not only that, he sees a lot of himself in him. He's a mechanic like him. Also, too, I think he kind of takes on like a little bit of a father type role, because we mentioned a few times in this review, Tony feels guilty about that kid Charles Spencer, what happened to him in Sokovia. He wants to take this kid under his wing, and I know some people are like, damn, he's gonna throw a kid into a war. This is Spider-Man. He's the strongest one of everyone. He's a super-powered being. He's not throwing a random kid into a war. I get everyone's complaining. He's 15, 16, or whatever, but you saw, and we'll get.
And he's not going against villains. He's going against other teammates who, they're not really going to try to kill each other.
But to go back to that, he will be going up against Thanos. In Infinity
I'm just saying in this movie.
Yeah, but I agree with you. For first battle, it's not go against Thanos. It's let's go against the team to stop and arrest them. So again, great introduction to seeing Spider-Man in the MCU where he belongs, where he's back home where he belongs. So. Again, I enjoyed the Tobey Maguire take in the Sam Raimi version, and I thought Andrew Garfield did a good job in the Amazing Spider-Man films. I wasn't crazy about those films, but I thought he was good. so far, I know it's a small sample size, but Tom Holland, so far, in the small sample size we've got, it's just felt the most Spider-Man, the most organic Spider-Man.
Mostly from the dialogue alone, that's the way he talks and how he talks a lot when they're fighting.
When he's both Peter and
exactly,
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And also, too, we forgot to really quickly mention the shirt he's wearing in the apartment.
Pizza shirt.
It's a pizza shirt that's clearly an Easter egg to Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi one, where Peter Parker worked at the pizza place at the beginning of the film. I think it was called Joe's Pizza, or I don't remember, but he worked at the pizza place, so a cool little Easter egg there.
Yeah, and I love, too, after he's saying, I want you to go to Berlin, and Kane's like, oh, I'm going to go tell your aunt, and he like, puts his hand on the door, and he shoots the webbing at him. He's like, all right, well, get me out of this, man. Like,
no, it's the way the delivery is like, get me out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, also, too, he's like, you need to come to Germany. He's like, I can't, I got homework. And then Robert Downey's
just say that.
And then Robert Downey's face.
Like, you did not just. I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that.
Yeah, no, I love their chemistry, and again, we've it's officially been reported that Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark Iron Man will be in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Me personally, I don't think he's going to be in the film more than 15 to 20 minutes of screen, because you don't want him to overshadow it's Spider-Man's film.
And I don't know if he'll be Iron Man. It'll probably just be Tony.
Yeah, but if they do one little scene of him flying over in the Iron Man suit, I'll be cool with that and taking it off to talk with him. But whatever they do, anything with Robert Downey Jr. in, I think we're okay and cool with that. Yeah, but preferably like around 20 minutes or so, I could see him being in Spider-Man: Homecoming. But again, I like that seed and building of the chemistry and bonding of those two characters. Because I love the relationship between Tony Stark and Peter Parker in the comics and the animated shows. Everything we've seen so far, and this too, I'm even more invested now. So, also too, a really quick, like less than a minute scene, we see now that Tony has recruited Peter Parker, and Black Widow had told Tony she was going to recruit someone too. Now we get a quick scene of her recruiting T'Challa when he's about to leave that little prison or whatever, the little confinement place he was being held at. I love the little thing of his guard telling us Black Widow, move or you will be moved, and then Black Panther says,
as that would be.
As entertaining as that would be. But that would actually be kind of, because she is supposed to be a badass warrior. That's his he needs protection. But
right.
But still, if she's his protector or a warrior that fights for him, she's got to be badass. We found out a couple days ago that last week that Lupita Nyong'o was actually cast in the new Black Panther film. And obviously, I'm not saying she's the character of that woman we saw, but I could see her being like a warrior protector for T'Challa, or even a love interest, or a Wakandan, whatever. But I could see her doing something of that. Me personally, I see her being more like a warrior type, because Lupita Nyong'o is just a badass. So, but again, I thought that was cool little of seeing, like, it's just funny seeing
more Wakandans. Yeah, they're going to be coming to play in the Black Panther movie.
But again, it's just so funny that Black Panther, I know he's a king, all kings need protection, but I don't think he needs protection.
I don't know if it's his protection, or maybe just like his entourage type of thing.
Or
his traveling party, I don't know.
No, I know, I'm just making
the
fun.
woman who came to pick him up.
No, again, he should have, but I'm saying it's all kings do need, even if you're the best warrior ever, but I just found it a little hilarious, that's all. But getting next into the next scene, we get this, I thought this was an incredible sequence. Seeing Vision, first of all, we see an explosion going on outside, so we think
something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening. But I love how Vision's like, stay here, and like how protective he is.
Goes through the wall.
But before even that, I love seeing, like, again, he's an android, but you see Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany, you see his face, like how he expresses his emotions, like, stay here. Like,
you can't leave anyway. So.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you can see, like, how he has fear for her. He doesn't want anything to happen to her. I love that part of their relationship. Then we get the cool reveal that Hawkeye is now is coming back. I know some people are like, whoa, he randomly just came back. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of stuff going on, but still, he had a mutual respect with Cap.
But Cap, we know that Cap actually called him to come. There's dialogue in the scene where he says he calls Clint to come help out.
Yeah, but again, the point is, I like seeing Clint come in to come get Wanda Maximoff, because who's the one who had to pep talk her when she was feeling down on herself in Age of Ultron? It's my fault. I can't believe I did this. And then he's like, hey, look, it's your fault. It's my fault. In Sokovia, where he's like, look, you're an Avenger if you walk out there. So I thought it was proper and appropriate for Hawkeye to come back and get her for Cap. And then
he's like, come on, let's go. He runs away, and she doesn't leave. She's like, I've done enough damage already. And he like runs back over to her, and he's like, come on, are you in high school? You can get off your ass and do something about it.
Yeah, that's the second time now he's having a pep talk with her. Like,
I just like when he runs back. I think that's funny.
Yeah, but then I like the dialogue between him and Vision. Where he's like, Clint, and he's like,
Yeah, he's like Clinton. He's like, what? I retire for 5 minutes, and it all goes to shit. Yeah, and before when he walks in, he shoots those 2 arrows on the sides, and he's like,
stretched.
Yeah. So that kind of traps Vision for a while while they're running away, and that's when, like I said, he runs away, and she's like, oh, I've done enough already, and he runs back, gives her another little pep talk. Vision breaks free and like basically just grabs Vision. He's like, you can't overpower me, but then he's like, I know, but she can. And that's what, and then he kind of gives like a look towards Wanda. He's like, and she's like, I can't be cooped up here anymore. And she basically she does something to his mind stone. He kind of like turns it off or something. And then she just like,
well, really quick, if you remember, they're being controlled by the same power. They were both, Baron von Strucker made her through made her, but gave her power through the mind gem. And Vision, he has the mind gem. So it makes sense that she can control, because they're being control, but it's the same energy and entity, so it makes sense that she can control him. Continue.
So yeah, she kind of like makes him weak, and then she basically changes his body mass to be super heavy and pushes him down through the building. Crazy. Yeah, it was really awesome, and it kind of plays into Vision's body structure, how his mass can change. So she just makes it really, really heavy and pushes him all the way down. I thought that was a pretty cool scene, and really powerful too, because he's like, if you do this, they'll never stop being afraid of you. And she says, I can't control their fear, only my own.
Great line.
And so, it's really a tough scene for both of them, because obviously they have that little thing going, and they're starting to fight now. And neither of them want to hurt each other, but Wanda wants to get out of there. So
yeah, no, I agree. I really like the line. Like it like defines Wanda. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want people to be in fear of me, but I can't control that. They're going to be either way, because look what I can do.
Yeah.
So like, it just was like you said, a good, powerful, good character defining moment for Wanda Maximoff. And I thought the way Elizabeth Olsen, just the way she delivered and expressed her lines, just a really good job. Again, we've mentioned this before, the dialogue is just really top notch in this film. There's not a lot of scenes where I'm watching, I'm like, the dialogue in this just doesn't work for me. Every scene, it just really clicks, and I love these writers. They're really good.
Yeah.
Then after that, we get a really cool, I love this scene where Cap in his getaway bug, the VW Volkswagen.
I don't know if you understand the concept of a getaway car.
Yeah, with him and
Volkswagen.
But just again, look, these are superheroes. They're super powered beings. I love the relatability factor of this, where like Bucky is just saying to Sam, like, can you move your seat up? No. And then he just scoots over. And then after, then Cap and Sharon Carter, like a long time coming now, it's been building for a while. Because if you remember in Winter Soldier, he asked Sharon to have a cup of coffee with her, and she said she just came back from she had like an infectious ward disease or something.
Oh yeah, in Winter Soldier.
And it's funny because she said infectious ward disease. Where's in the beginning when Frank Grillo's character, he tries to go after the infection ward disease. So a little foreshadowing there, of course.
And yeah, Sharon brings them his shield and the Falcon suit and all that.
The bird suit? Are you kidding me? I didn't write that. But yeah, no, after they kiss, because again, as we just mentioned, that's been building up for 2 films now. So for people saying, he's gonna kiss her, the aunt, that's messed up. Or the niece of the woman he's loved, he didn't know when they were building the relationship at first, he didn't know that was her niece. And hey, keep it in the family, right?
Might as well,
yeah,
right?
I'm just kidding. But I mean, I thought the relationship was appropriate, and I thought it worked between them. But the best moment for me, after they make out, when he looks back at the Volkswagen, he sees Bucky and Sam.
And he gives that like kind of embarrassed look.
Yeah.
Such a funny moment between like Cap's 2 best friends.
Yeah, but it makes you more emotionally pulled into this team. You love these guys. When people can make you laugh, you love them more. So and again, there's no dialogue there. It's just a
moment. It's just a great moment.
It's a great little moment. Then after that, we get to see...
They pull into the airport parking lot
with Hawkeye
in that van. And
Hawkeye
and Wanda get out, and he's like, oh, so we got the other recruit. He's like, yeah, we had to put a little coffee in him. He opens the door, and there's Scott Lang.
Captain America.
More cheers from the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
But
his
dialogue is hilarious. Like, I'm shaking your hand way too long. This is awesome.
By the way, you're great too. I know you. Yeah, no, I agree. And
Thanks for thanking me.
He's like, wow.
He's like, yeah, I know you know a lot of superpowered people, so thanks for thanking of me.
Yeah.
Nice little.
So awkward. So awkward. It's funny though.
But it's perfect. I mean, Paul Rudd just plays the character so good.
I agree. And then I love the line where Cap says to him, he says, hey, if you do this, you'll be a wanted man. What else is new?
Yep.
Yeah. So no, again, made total sense in the plot there. And I know some people are saying, why would, I mean, yes, he is inspired a lot by Cap, and yes, Falcon did ask him, so like he felt like I guess he felt a little sense of, hey, I'm going to help these guys out. I know some people are questioning why would he risk his freedom, because he just gained that from the end of Ant-Man, and now with his daughter and being responsible to his wife, and now boom, right back in prison. But
if Captain America asks you to be on
no
the
to
team,
Captain
you're going to say
America,
no.
yeah.
I don't think so. And he also he mentions like, oh, what's up, man, to Falcon, and he's like,
Tic-tac.
oh yeah, that was a nice little addition, but that's not going to happen again.
He calls him a tic-tac. So yeah, no, I love that. No, good good chemistry between the team, and then I love when Cap says, suit up.
Yeah, it's a great way to like basically show the forming of Captain America's side of that team, and yeah, and they hear the alarm go off, and then they say, oh, they're evacuating the airport. So I know people are talking.
Action scene.
I know people are talking about they don't want more damage, but they make sure that you know that there's nobody at the airport, so that no one's going to die or anything in this. Any pedestrians aren't going to die. So
right.
And then, yeah, like you said, Cap says suit up, and then we get one of the greatest action scenes of all time in any movie. All right, so we see Captain America in his suit walk out, and he's greeted by...
It's the first time, right? He's in his suit in the film, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. We see Tony and War Machine, and then also Black Panther comes out, too, and he says, Your Highness, again. And
love that line.
I love the dialogue in the scene. He's
Your
like...
Highness.
Captain America's trying to tell him that, Zemo is the one who set this whole thing up. He framed Bucky, and he won't listen, and he really reiterates to Captain America, like, I'm trying to get you to stop breaking up the Avengers, He's like, his last chance, like, stop, come on, please sign this.
I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to get into a comparison with Batman v Superman. We already did our scene-by-scene breakdown. I just feel like the dialogue here, like the way they're
night and day.
This could have been some of the stuff. I'm not saying copy, but like the scene between Clark and Bruce where they're fighting give me some of this dialogue where I don't care what you're saying, and then go into the whole Martha bit. But
the problem is, I totally agree with you. But the fact that this is the 13th movie,
yeah,
we've had so much time to build all these characters up.
I agree.
I mean, I agree that movie should have done more of it, but this movie just already had so much build up.
Right. You're right.
You can see the look in Tony's face. He's like, "Come on, it's us. Join us." Blah blah blah. But Cap says, no, I can't do it. He's like, and Tony's like, all right, I've lost my patience. On to Roos. And then freaking Spider-Man's entrance. He grabs the shield with his webbing. Yeah, and I love when Tony's like, nice job, kid. He's like, oh, thanks, man. I could have stuck the landing a little better, but it's a new suit. Yeah. But oh, hey, everyone.
Yeah. And then like Captain America. How are you? Like big fan.
Big fan.
Like no. Like the dialogue, it's just it's perfect because you got the Queen's accent. He's reacting and behaving like a kid, like he's supposed to, not like a 35-year-old adult that looks like a 17-year-old kid. Yeah. And talks like an adult. So I thought they nailed that part of the version too. I know a lot of people weren't crazy about the suit. I like the suit a lot with the eyes that move. Yeah, it's like Deadpool a little with the expressive eyes, but as we found out in this film, Tony Stark gave him like camera lenses because he was using those crazy things that Tony was making fun of earlier. So now he's got like camera kind of eyes now. So it's really cool. I like seeing the expressive face on or the way he expresses his eyes whenever he's talking or whatever. So that's really cool. Again, even though Spider-Man had it in the comics because Deadpool was in the comics in 1993. It was, of course, in Spider-Man. I just mean from a film visual. It just reminded me a little of Deadpool because Deadpool came on film before the Spider-Man expressive eyes, because if you remember the Sam Raimi and the other the Mark Webb Spider-Man films, there was no expressive eyes, just standstill eyes. So I love seeing that in there, and again the dialogue.
And then Cap says his piece, and he's like, "All right, Lang," and you see him on the shield. He goes big and kicks Spider-Man. He's like, "I believe this is," or no. And after that, Hawkeye shoots an arrow and breaks Cap.
I believe this is yours, Captain America. Yeah, good dialogue.
I love that line.
And then we just, like you said, it just kicks off the action. And then what I love, and we're gonna get into it, but what I loved about this scene so much, besides the amount of amazing action, the fanboy moments, the dramatic turns that the scene kept on taking. For 1 second, you're fanboying out. Another second, you got a lump in your throat because of what is happening to certain characters. And other moments, you're like, no, I want to see them fight. This is badass, but please don't hurt each other. I love these characters because you're so emotionally invested into what's going on. It's not mindless action. You care so much about what's going on with these characters. That's why we keep reiterating. It's one of the greatest action sequences, not on the action based alone, based on the characters, the dialogue, and the action infused with all the dramatic moments. All that infused makes it one of the greatest, if not the greatest, action.
And the fighting choreography is all amazing
hand to hand.
too.
Oh my god, every fight.
Yeah, I love the matchups that we get too. We get Spider-Man fighting Bucky and Falcon, and we get Cap fighting Black Panther and War Machine. I don't know why Iron Man asked War Machine, "Yo, you want to get Cap?" I'm like, don't you think that this gonna be a tough matchup for War Machine? But who knows? And then Hawkeye and Black Widow fight, and just so many good matchups.
Yeah, no, one of my favorite fights. I mean, I love them all, but when Spider-Man is fighting Bucky and Falcon, like he's like, "Dude, you got a metal arm? Cool!" Like he's talking like a kid there, and then. But when I saw Spider-Man just catch Bucky's arm like it was nothing, I'm like, holy crap, that's a vibe.
They established how strong Spider-Man is too. Even when Tony's talking to him in his house,
the 4,000-pound car.
Yeah, they see the car, but they established how strong Spider-Man really is.
I agree, and I'm not saying Bucky's punch is harder than that car, but you've seen it almost crack the shield, so that is a powerful punch that he makes. But to see Spider-Man like with ease just catch it and like, dude, you got a metal arm, cool. And then he's like talking to these, and then I don't know if you know this, but usually there's not this much talking in a fight. Like the dialogue again, so great. And then I love too when he's about to he's like, sorry guys, but I gotta impress Mr. Stark, And then like Red Wing gets him, and then he goes, I love Winter Soldier says to him, you couldn't have done that 5 minutes ago. I hate you. Some great comedic timing again, just diffusing the tension for a second about what's going on. So again, really, like we've said a bunch of times, great script, good comedic.
And when Ant-Man's fighting Black Widow, he's like, I don't want to hurt you, and she's like, I wouldn't stress about it, and he shrinks down and throws her down.
One of the first times I've seen Black Widow
that's the only time I've seen her be taken down, really, other than
a couple times. And Crossbones throws her into the thing, right? But she gets out of it. Yeah. But I mean, really being held down and taken down.
Winter Soldier in Winter Soldier hurts her pretty bad too. Yeah. And then we get that scene where Hawkeye and Tony Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch are talking to Tony. He's like, "Oh, what's up, Clint? I thought you were retired." And he makes that joke about playing golf, and Clint's like, "Oh, I played 18, shot 18, just couldn't seem to miss." And
he shoots first time for anything.
He shoots the arrows at Tony, and he shoots them all. He's like, "Oh, this is the first time for everything." He's like, "Oh, I made you look," and all those cars come down and basically bury him. And then Friday in his suit's like, yeah, damage detected. He's like, I detected that too.
Yeah, multiple
contusions or something like that.
I detected that.
Yeah, I felt that. And you see Tony's like, shit, all right, I guess my plan was to, he tells Black Widow, my plan was to go easy on him. I guess we should step it up a notch or something like that.
Yeah.
But just with so many good scenes where
just really quick, another funny moment is when Scott Lang gives Steve Rogers the toy truck. He thought,
throw it at this,
and then he goes, "Oh my God! I thought it was a water truck."
And War Machine's like, "You gotta be kidding! Come on, man!" Yeah, that was hilarious.
But I love Cap's face when he looked at him like, "What the hell?" He's like, "I thought it was a water truck." Again, just such good comedic banter and timing. So funny.
And they see Cap and his team, they see that there's a Quinjet. Falcon finds it with Red Wing. He's like, there's the Quinjet. That's what we got to get to. Because their whole point of this is they're trying to escape, basically. But that's when Vision shows up, and he literally draws a line in the ground. And he sets down, and you see Iron Man's team versus Cap's team. That epic, panning shot of each side. Really cool shot. After already all the great action we've gotten, we see the little break, the team-up shot. And then... basically Cap, I forget, I think it's either Falcon or Bucky's like, what do we do, Cap? And he says, we fight. And they start running towards them, and then they start running towards them, and just more fighting.
Yeah, no, I'd say one of my favorite fights in this scene, though, is between Spider-Man and Captain America. Just the dialogue between them, and he says, what else did Tony tell you? He says I should go for your legs. That, and then also...
that's playing off of the fact, in Winter Soldier and all these other movies, where he's running in the shield, they're shooting at him, they keep hitting the shield where his legs are wide open, so...
Yeah, because he knows being a team member of this, he knows his vulnerabilities. And then also, to the dialogue where he catches the thing, and he goes, you got heart, kid. He goes, where you from? Queens. Brooklyn. I love that dialogue.
Two New York boys.
Yeah, so I love that.
And they're obviously going to have a relationship down the line, too. So sort of setting that up a little bit.
Infinity War, for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
And I wouldn't even mind seeing Cap maybe a little bit in Spider-Man's film, but maybe that might be too early after, what happens at the end of it.
If anything, I feel like the next movie we could possibly see is Black Panther, but who knows?
We'll go into that when we get to the post.
Who knows, yeah. But then they're fighting more, and they're like, oh, we need a diversion, something big. And Scott's like, I think I have something, but I can't hold it for that long. When I give the signal, you'll know. And he's like, I tried this once in a lab, and I passed out. So
we see. No, and then we see a very important moment.
He turns into Giant Man, which is awesome.
Oh God, yeah, that was fanboy.
He was like, "Whoa!"
Oh no, I love Paul.
He catches War Machine and throws him.
Put down my roadie.
Yeah, no, that was great.
No, it was great. Another big moment for me is when Winter Soldier and Black Panther are gonna fight. He's like, "I didn't kill your father." He's like, "Then why did you run?" Like, yeah, I thought that was a good little moment right there. Like, he's trying to explain, I had nothing to do with this. I'm sorry. And then, like, I mean, and it's kind of like a reference and a foreshadowing into who we're gonna find out whose father he did kill later. So I thought that was interesting right there. And again, just more of the fight between Bucky and Black Panther. I love anything with Black Panther.
And we get a Clint and Black Panther fight too. He's like, "Oh, I don't think we've met.
I'm Clint. Yeah. I don't care." Yeah.
But then with Giant Man there, everyone's fighting all around him, and we see Spider-Man riding on War Machine, and then he gets on his back, and he's like crawling up all around him, and everyone's fighting all around him. It's freaking just a great scene.
And then we get the Star Wars reference.
You guys remember that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, no, right.
How old is this kid?
Yeah, and then when they're on the snowy planet, right when he said Empire Strikes Back, and you see
I think the kid's onto something.
I knew what they were going through with the harpoons, the toes and cable, and with the speeders, the snow speeders. So I thought that was a really great reference, and also clearly Kevin Feige, the Russo brothers, and also the writers, they're clearly big Star Wars fans. Also, we've mentioned before, there was the cutoff of arms in all the Marvel Phase 2 films, like where Luke Skywalker loses his arm in The Empire Strikes Back. The same thing happens to a character in each Marvel Phase 2 film. Thought that was really cool as well. So again, it's all staying in the family with Disney, because Disney owns Marvel, Pixar, and Star Wars.
Star Wars, yep.
So really cool seeing that they acknowledge each other in a fun way. So I like seeing that.
Yeah, so we get, basically after they're fighting, Falcon tells them, like, "No, you guys need to escape. We're not going to be able to get out. Basically, this isn't a real fight. You guys need to go. We'll take one for the team." And they start running towards the hangar, and they get inside, and Black Widow's waiting in there for him. And she's like, "I'm going to, you're not going to stop, are you?" And he's like, "No, I have to do this." So she's like, "I'm going to regret this." And we see the Black Panthers right behind him, and she kind of stuns him and lets them get away. Yeah. So it's kind of Black Widow not changing sides, but kind of like
she changed sides, and I had a feeling that she was going to do this from the very beginning.
Yeah, so did I. Actually,
she's a double agent, and also too. I'm sorry, from the events of what happened in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, even though she did agree with where Tony was coming from, like, they have such a history and a bond.
That's even like when I found out that she was on Tony's team, I'm like, really? I thought she'd be on Cap's team. And as we see, she went over, but
yeah. And I like the line she says to Black Panther, "I said I'd help you find him, not kill him.
Yeah.
Or catch him, not kill him. There's a difference."
Exactly.
So I like that too. And then, but yeah, no, as we've mentioned a few times already, that airport scene, I could have just watched that one scene on loop the entire time. I would have been good.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, it's so funny, too. It's just great action. Just
like
all these characters that we love,
The dramatic turns and the comedic
So the Quinjet takes off, and Iron Man and War Machine go after him, and so does Hawkeye goes right behind them.
This is a crazy scene.
And they're trying to catch him, and Rhodey's like, I got a bogey on my 6 or whatever, talking about Falcon. He tells Vision to shoot him down.
He's holding Scarlet Witch right now.
Right.
Because I believe War Machine had just...
Yeah, he shot her with those...
vibrating
sound waves, kind of
exactly.
because she and he basically shoots a beam up at Falcon, who dodges it, and it hits Rhodey right in the chest. His arc reactor that's powering his whole suit. So his suit just shuts off, and you see him free fall to the ground. You could
hear the gasps in the crowd. They were like,
yeah. And then we'd seen the shot in the trailer of Tony holding him, so we knew he was going to hit the ground, but we didn't know whether he was going to die or not. So he hits the ground, but I like how right away they said, how Friday says, heartbeat detected, so right away we know he's not dead.
I agree with you. I think another big character-defining moment for me, Falcon is going after, or rather trying to help Tony or Steve escape by going after Tony and War Machine. When he sees War Machine get hit, he doesn't keep going and helping Cap. He goes down to try and, because him and War Machine, Rhodey, they're kind of buddies. I mean, they were kind of bantering a little bit earlier on when they were disagreeing, but they're buddies. They're friends. They're on the Avengers team. So when he saw him going down, I love seeing Falcon try and get there to try and save him, and it was too late. And then Tony, he says to Tony, "I'm sorry," and then Tony just fires at him, and then that fun, I felt that, I felt bad for Sam there. He was just trying to help out his friend.
Well, yeah, you knew Tony was just really pissed, obviously, and it was a kind of a comedic moment that
I
wasn't like it was funny, but
I wasn't laughing.
It was funny, but we didn't laugh because of what happened to Rhodey.
I think the thud noise is the laugh part, like the way he
but that's the, ground, that's the thing. The moment was so heavy that even though it was funny, we weren't really laughing. But in the back of our mind, we're like, oh, that's kind of funny, but shit, Rhodey, you know. And then we're in the Quinjet, and Bucky's telling Cap, I don't know if I'm worth all this, Steve. And then Cap's like, well, none of this was your fault. You were mind controlled. He's like, yeah, but I still did it. So. And then we see Rhodey getting an MRI back at the compound, and Tony's like, to Vision. Yeah, he's like, how could this happen? I don't know this could happen. And Vision's like, neither did I don't know.
And clearly this is showing he has human emotion now toward Wanda whenever because he was thinking about holding her, and his mind was just completely incapacitated. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was vulnerable at that moment, and he wasn't focusing. So I just, again, more humanizing and more building of that relationship. So I just... Again, makes you feel like this android is like a human, and like you really sympathize with him in this scene because he feels terrible what happened to War Machine.
Yeah, he feels really bad. And then we see the scene with Natasha and Tony talking, and she's like, "Oh, we played this all wrong." He's like, "Oh, you really got this whole double agent mantra. Like, it's hard for you to let go of that, huh?" And she gets really pissed. He's like, "You know, they're going to be coming after you." Black Panther told him what you did, and he's like. Yeah, Ross. And she's like, I'm not the one who needs to watch my back. And something about, like, just let go of your ego. And she disappears. And that's the last we see of her in this movie, so we don't know where she's at. And like you said, Ross knows that she helped Captain America, so she's a fugitive now. So it's curious to see where she's going to turn up next.
Maybe she's in Black Panther, maybe Capca. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you never know. So I know everyone keeps talking about wanting to see a Black Widow movie, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But
I could be wrong, but we might have kind of a little bit skipped over. We see Zemo. He called in the motel or the hotel he was staying at a little earlier in the film, and we kind of skipped over that too. Just really quick. He was staying at a hotel where he ordered a side of bacon and black coffee. They established that a little earlier in the film. We didn't mention it because it's like a literally 10-second scene. And also we see the bomb in there, which we did mention, that went off in the electrical plant when he was invading the agent, for being Bucky's psychiatrist. But we see he makes the call to the woman ordering the side of bacon again and the black coffee. Makes total sense. And he's not at the hotel, but then she walks into the room. She sees the dead psychiatrist that he was impersonating, who's also one of the directors of the movie, Joe Russo. Second time he's been in a Captain America movie. He was the one who helped Nick Fury, the doctor in the Winter Soldier, the collapsed lung doctor. So cool seeing him again in there. But just getting back to this, he knew that when that woman found that, it would be reported all over the news, and also it was in there that he was manipulating and using Bucky's facial recognition. He knows Tony. He's been studying and obsessed with the Avengers for the last year. That's all he's been studying, and that's what his life has been built around the last year.
Turn on the Avengers.
Yeah. So he knows for a fact with Tony Stark's resources that when the doctor that he was impersonating was the one who was supposed to be there, he knew that by revealing the murder was out and that Bucky's facial recognition was being used and manipulated to kill T'Chaka. He knew that Tony Stark would find out about that. If random people are going to hear about that in the news, you better damn believe Tony Stark is going to find out about that in 2 seconds. And with his technology, it's easy for you to assume that's going to happen, which it did. And then we see Friday telling Tony the doctor was being impersonated by this guy, Zemo.
Just like Cap said at the airport.
Yeah, just like Cap said at the airport. And also was using his facial recognition, just like Cap said at the airport. So then from that point of events, he takes that to the, I believe it's called the Raft, the water prison where they're all being held to, because he wants to tell Undersecretary Ross, because he's not a general anymore from Incredible Hulk, he wants to tell him, what's going on. By the way, I love the scenes between Tony Stark and Thunderbolt Ross. The first time we ever got to see that was in 2008 in The Incredible Hulk. They have such a crazy, complicated relationship, those two. And obviously in the comics, he becomes the Red Hulk. Thunderbolt Ross, so maybe at some point that might happen. But getting back to this, he's trying to tell Ross, like, hey, Cap was telling the truth. This Zemo guy was impersonating. You think I'm going to listen to you after what you just happened at the airport? And then we see him, going, walking past all the Avengers. He sees Wanda being locked. You can see Tony feels like, yes, he feels guilty and responsible for them being there, even though they did it themselves. But he does not want to see his friends and even though they don't see eye to eye anymore, he does not want to see the Avengers being in this prison. You can see on his face how it's pulling him apart. Even though he agrees with what happened, he doesn't agree with them being held there. And I love seeing Clint clapping, saying, "The futurist! He sees all!"
Yeah, and they're all talking shit on Tony because obviously they're in a cell and he's not, and they feel like he's kind of responsible for it,
Yeah.
which he kind of is a little bit.
Oh, definitely, for sure. And I love when he walks by Scott Lang and he says, Hank Pym always told me I should never trust a Stark. Who are you? Come on, man.
Yeah, but Tony does a little thing on his watch and cuts out all the
When he's
audio,
talking to Sam.
all the audio from in their cameras and stuff. He's like, I just cut the A out of their AV, so let's make this quick.
And he tells Sam that
he's like,
knows the truth.
yeah, Cap was right. I know the truth. I just want to know where he's at because he's gonna need all the help he can get. He's like, all right, I'll tell you, but you have to go alone and as a friend. So just like Zemo wanted, like he knew the Iron Man would find out and follow them there. So they're all in Siberia now.
And I know people are saying, how did he know that Iron Man and him and the Winter Soldier and Cap would all converge at the same time? Well, Iron Man came a little bit after, 20 minutes after. He did come after him. He's also got a freaking Iron Man suit so he can get there a little quicker. Also on top of that, again, he knows Tony's got resources. He'll go to one of the Avengers or he'll find a way to now he'll be obsessed with helping Captain America. So again, yes, it's a little convenient, but it made sense. It made sense to the story. It wasn't a questioning of how the hell did this happen or he get him there. It made sense to me.
Yeah, like you said, there's a tiny bit of movie convenience, but it's a movie. For the most part, it's all feasible.
We're talking about superheroes too.
Yeah. And we see that sick scene of Tony in his helicopter put his finger in the thing, and the Iron Man suit comes on. I love that
shot. Great shot.
He flies out, and then we see...
he takes off his thing, too, the sling.
Oh, he's a sling. Yeah, he's like, oh, my arm, but you know what? I gotta do this. Yeah. But and then when he flies away, we see T'Challa in the stealth jet. In the stealth jet fly after them, so we know T'Challa's after them, too.
It really reminded me of the shot, seeing him in the stealth jet, like when Hulk was going over the ocean at the end of Age of Ultron, just in the stealth jet, just that visual imagery. Now, obviously, it wasn't raining and pouring. He wasn't following Tony Stark, but just seeing the stealth jet just going silently in the dark like that, and even though that was daytime in Age of Ultron, but still, just seeing the stealth jet, I thought it was a really cool shot. And I like seeing T'Challa, like, I'm not done with you guys, like, so I thought that was really...
He still wants Bucky.
Yeah, and it shows his resourcefulness, how smart of a character he is. He's not like, I'll just hear about it on the news and hope someone can. No, he takes action.
And since he was in the jet, he probably didn't see the news that they let it out that Bucky wasn't the one who actually did it, so he didn't know yet.
Yep. Cap and Bucky, they're talking about old memories about like how they spent all their money, their train money, like on a girl, like trying to win her some prizes.
Nice little moment between them.
And by the way, one of the girls they were mentioning, I think she was a redhead that was on Agent Carter, either season 1 or 2, I'm not sure, but it was one of the characters he was referencing. So. But again, I love seeing that little moment of their friendship just because, again, in the first movie, seeing him defend him in the alley and just the way that they bonded over the whole... seeing their history together, it's just you really feel those moments. It pulls you in more emotionally. I love their friendship so much. So, and seeing that 75 years of history, like, this is all Cap's got. You understand where his blind faith of trusting his friend comes from. He doesn't have Peggy anymore. He only has his friend. And before he had super serum, before he was a super soldier, he had Bucky. So it makes sense, like, where he's coming from in this. Then we get, they're in Siberia. Zemo has already arrived here. He's been here for a couple hours.
We see the little kind of car or whatever it is that he's in. Yeah. So, and they park the Quinjet right next to it.
Yeah, and then we see they make a mention that Zemo's probably been here at least a couple hours.
Enough time to
to wake up the 6 super soldiers that we think he's going to do. And then we see Tony Stark rip open the door, and then we see...
With a little defensive Cap.
Well, it's been a long morning. And then
it has been a long day at the airport.
It's been a long day. Yeah. So and then good little dialogue there. And then I like how Tony tells him, "Hey, I saw the news. I saw the doctor. I trust you. Like I know you're telling the truth now." And then also,
like, don't tell General Ross I'm here. I'd have to arrest myself.
Yeah, and then he says, "Well, we wouldn't want you to fill out. That sounds like a lot of paperwork."
Guns down, Manchurian Candidate. Come on.
No. He says, "Hey, Manchurian Candidate, this is a truce, all right?" So I like that funny moment right there.
Another mind control joke about that movie.
Exactly. Then they go walk into the room where we see the 6 super soldiers have been killed, and I remember me thinking to him like, whoa, this is a twist I didn't see coming because he thought he was going to activate. And I like seeing that in movies. I like being shocked and not what I was expecting to see happen, not happen.
This was the mini twist before the big twist.
Well, the big twist, we talked about. We saw that coming. But just getting into that, then we see they see Baron Zemo, and he's talking about why he's trying to tear them apart or come after them, is because we find out that his family was they weren't in the the part of the city in Sokovia that was being lifted. They were like outside the city. But when all the debris and all the stuff, when Thor like kind of destroyed the city there, and Iron Man was helping out, it kind of just hit all over the city. And I guess him, his wife, his son, and his father, who was holding them both, they were all casualties of this, and again, right then and there, you understand his motivations, why he's been obsessed with destroying these guys all film, and also too when you see he's destroyed and killed the six super soldiers. I love his dialogue and reasoning. You think I wanted more of you?
And he's like, if it's any consolation, they died in their sleep. You know, a nice little opening. He's behind that big door that no one can break into.
I bet I can top that.
Yeah, he's like, this was designed to stop Soviet missiles. Like, yeah, I bet I could top that. That was kind of funny. But yeah, he basically really quickly, not in like super villain fashion, he really quickly explains to them the plan. He's like, you think I wanted more of you? I wanted to tear you from apart. And he tells them an empire that
I'm sorry. Right before he says that, we find out Black Panther is there because Captain America says you killed a bunch of people in Vienna just to get us in here.
Right, and you see Black Panther being like, oh, he knows that Bucky is the wrong person. So and yeah, you see then Zemo tells him, an empire toppled by its enemies can rebuild, but one that crumbles from within is dead forever. So
line.
Amazing lines from Zemo. I guess I understand why people don't like him, but at the same time, it's like. I thought it was great, and he's not a physical villain. It's all mind games. It's all mental.
He's the personification of collateral damage. He's the failure of collateral damage of the Avengers. I mean, it makes sense why he exists and what he's doing. And also, too, they just created they made this. He's going to come back, as we see later in the film. I could see Thanos like, hey, you're a human. You almost tore the Avengers apart. Here, let me give you some powers, or let me help you out. I got.
Hopefully, he'll show up in that purple suit.
Yeah, I'd like to see him wear that too. But I could see Thanos saying, "Impressive human, here you go, dude." My speculation. So
that would be cool. And then Zemo shows them the video of what we've seen since the beginning of the movie, that car scene where the Winter Soldier makes that car crash, and as we see, it's Howard. Sure enough, it's Howard Stark and Maria Stark in the car. And Tony's like, what's this? I know that road. I guess you could say it's kind of convenient they had cameras right by that car, but Hydra likes to document their reports, so that's my argument. But like we said, this is a movie, a comic book movie, so a little bit of compromise there.
Yeah, you're right.
It was a cool scene. You see the brutality of how he murders Howard Stark, punching him in the face.
And they have a history together, too, Sergeant Barnes and
Howard. He's like, Sergeant Barnes, he recognizes him, so it was a really powerful moment, and Tony... Then when he goes around to his mom, that's when you see Tony really be like, shit, really mad. And he turns to Cap and he's like, did you know? He's like, I didn't know it was him. Don't give me that shit, Rogers. Did you know? Yes. And he did know because, as we said, in Winter Soldier, Arnim Zola tells him that, basically. So people were saying, oh, how did Cap know? Well, that's where he knew, right there. So yeah,
he's not stupid. He saw he saw it was Jason just
accidents will happen.
Yeah, in the Arnim Zola scene in Winter Soldier when he says accidents will happen. We see a picture of Nick Fury and Howard Stark, and Captain America can put two and two together. He knows who they just sent to kill Nick Fury. I think he's gonna say, okay, it's safe to assume you probably sent the same guy to go after Howard Stark and Maria.
And they set that up even in the first Avenger when we first see Bucky. He's like strapped to the gun. He's like, oh yeah, disoriented and being experimented on, like you said. So
Arnim Zola was experimenting on him. Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But the part that gets me every time I watch the scene, seeing Bucky just beat and brutalize and then choke out his mom, it puts a lump in your throat and it's very difficult to watch. The part that just really takes it over the edge for me in terms of amazing brilliance acting, Robert Downey Jr.'s face watching his parents getting killed. I know I'm crazy and you guys are going to rip me in the comments. It's almost like, I'm not saying he deserves an Oscar, but the performance, it's almost Oscar worthy. The way he's expressing his emotions, it's incredible. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't care if you call me a sensitive baby. I was crying a little bit, and I had some tears coming down when just watching Tony's face from reacting to that. And then when people, and I know some people have criticized Tony, he called him a Manchurian candidate. Didn't he know he was bringing brain? You watch your parents get brutally murdered, and then the guy right there is the one responsible, whether he had control or not. Do you think Tony's going to turn to him and go, hey, it's all good. I know you were being mind controlled. Don't worry about it. It's just my parents. No
it's
big
just all emotions.
Blind rage took over, and it wasn't just that. Blind rage at that moment. As Jason just alluded to, he found out from his good friend, Steve Rogers, he was lying to him. That's the ultimate, and he knew. That's the ultimate betrayal. Tony just lost it there.
And Cap even says, he was being mind controlled, and Tony's like, I don't care. He killed my mom.
He killed my mom. Yeah, notice he didn't say dad, because that just shows even more how bad their last conversation. It was really bad. And obviously, still, we know from the other films, he resents his dad, because his dad, from his perspective, he feels his dad loves Captain America a little more, but that's
and it's not so much that he doesn't love his dad, but it's that he loves his mom
more.
Yeah.
He had a better relationship with his mom, and like we
Right.
just said, the last moment he had with his dad was a very bad one. And again, you just really feel Tony where he's coming from in this scene. So again, for people criticizing Tony Stark, saying why would he come after him when he knows he's brainwashed, you're ridiculous and you have no idea or concept of human emotion. So I thought it made total sense right there. I thought it was a great idea showing that reveal at the end of the movie, because if Tony had all movie long to think about that, I don't think it would have worked, because all movie long he's like, you know what? Yeah, this guy's being mind controlled.
The blind rage would have dissipated a little bit.
Exactly.
Like
to see it happen in one moment really quick, it was perfect. I thought it was great. And then just the fight between them and
great fight.
Oh, it was incredible. And then seeing Tony or Steve protecting his friend. For me, I took two perspectives from this, from Steve's point of view. One, he was trying to protect Bucky because Bucky was was not in control of his brain with what was going on. Number two, he was trying to protect Tony from making the biggest mistake of his life. So I love that the subtext I saw and what Cap was doing in this scene from both perspectives.
So yeah, when Tony and Winter Soldier are fighting, he's like, "Do you even remember them?" And Winter Soldier's like, "I remember them all." And that's when you really feel for Bucky too. I mean, he's haunted by all he remembers all these killings he had to do, even though he had no control over doing it. So you see, I love that you see in this movie too that he's always haunted by all this stuff too, and he's been kind of emotionally beaten down. Yeah, he is a victim, even though he, like he says, he still did it, but it's hard for him because he had no control over himself.
And to feel guilty about something you had no control, that's got to be the
And right when Zemo's showing him this video, he knows what it is. He's oh no.
Yeah, he feels terrible.
It
was out of
nothing
his control.
He can do. But so yeah, they're fighting. We get the epic fight between Bucky and Cap versus Iron Man, and Iron Man's holding his own versus both. And he actually, Bucky's pinned him against the wall, and he shoots the beam from here, and his arm comes off. So then he's kind of down for the count, and then we get an even more iconic fight of just Captain America versus Iron Man. So, that just like the comic book where, he's shooting the thing at him and against the shield.
Art. Yeah, and also, too, right before that, when they're as you just mentioned, when they're fighting, this is the third time now we've seen Bucky holding the Captain America shield. So, it's my opinion. I could be totally wrong. I hope I'm wrong about this. I personally think that Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, is going to die in Infinity War Part 1 or Part 2. I'm thinking more Part 2. And after he does die, I think Bucky is then going to become the new Captain America. My speculation, I could be totally... I hope I'm wrong in terms of Chris Evans staying around a couple more films and then Bucky takes over. But I think it's a foregone conclusion. I could be wrong that Bucky at some point is going to take over because Marvel, as we've mentioned and alluded to, they plant seeds and they don't forget about it. Even if it's 2008 with Incredible Hulk and General Ross or whatever, or even Captain America in the snow and the alternate, whatever it is, they plant seeds and they come back to it. So I could personally see them coming back to him being Cap.
Well, and two, since Sebastian Stan is contracted for 9 movies, he's been in, 3?
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely possible and even plausible that... And because Chris Evans has even said he doesn't want to play Captain America forever, so at some point...
He said that at the beginning, but no, he said that at the beginning, and then recently...
He's more into it now.
Recently they asked him, how much longer... He said, as long as Marvel wants to keep making me Captain America, I'm in. I'm fine.
All right, well, that's good to hear, too.
So I love hearing that, too. Then we get one of my, if not my favorite scene, the airport scene, I guess my favorite, but this is one of my most defining scenes. It's my favorite Black Panther scene, action or not. It's the most character-defining moment for me, and we see his arc come around in this film. We see Zemo in the snow, basically with a gun, about to kill himself, and Black Panther tells him, "I almost killed the wrong man." And he tells him that he sees what vengeance is doing to the Avengers. It's consumed them. He sees what it's done to Zemo. A man that tore the Avengers pulled them apart from the inside because of vengeance. And then I love Zemo's lines. These lines really make the villain for me. He says, "I knew I couldn't kill the Avengers. More powerful men than me have tried. But if I could get them to kill each other." I love that line. It makes him seem so much smarter and like a man with a plan. And again, then he tries to kill himself. I love this. He stops him with his vibranium suit and says,
"Tell that to the dead.
No, the living are not yet finished with you." And I took this as two ways. One, I took it as Black Panther's arc. He's not going to allow vengeance to consume him anymore. And that's not what his father would want. And number two, he's not letting this guy go. He's not going to let him kill himself. He still needs to pay for his crimes, in jail or whatever. So I love that, again, seeing two sides of that coin from Black Panther's perspective. And again, Chadwick Boseman, he could be my new favorite Avenger or Marvel Cinematic Universe character. I loved this character so much, and again, I'm so invested in this character. I can't wait for Black Panther. I can't wait. So now we get back to the one-on-one fight, because as we just mentioned, Sebastian, or rather, the Winter Soldier has been incapacitated. His arm has been blown off by one of Tony's. He gave him like an arc shot,
chest
or
beam, whatever it is. Yeah,
he gave him a beam shot. Anyways, I love the visual shot and Friday saying, "Boss, we can't beat him one-on-one in a hand-to-hand fight." That is right out of the Civil War comics when they're fighting. That's right out of there. And then also when he, at some point when he punches the mask off of Tony, that's right from the comics too. So a lot of Easter eggs from the comics. But again, showing when he says analyze his fight pattern, really cool. And then he goes to Friday, let's kick his ass. And then like boom, goes right into it. And then I love he shoots Steve, and then Steve's like,
yeah,
he goes, final warning.
He hasn't beaten. He's like, stay down. Final warning.
I could do this all day. That's a trope and a line he's been saying for 3 films now.
Right. While he's doing that, he's kind of keeping Tony preoccupied, and Winter Soldier is creeping over and grabs his leg, and that's when Tony gets the upper hand on. I mean, that's when Cap gets the upper hand on Tony.
Really quick, what did Tony say to Spider-Man to stop Captain America? Grab his leg. Go for his legs. And what incapacitated him? He backfired on him. He grabbed his legs. He gave him the wrong advice there, right?
But then Cap just starts wailing on Tony, like you said, beating off his mask, and that face that Tony makes, he just looks so afraid. He looks like he's gonna kill him.
With the blood.
And like you said, Tony gives such a great performance, even without even saying anything. Just his face, like I think he does deserve like a best supporting actor nod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know this is a comic book movie, but this is still a great movie.
I don't care.
Robert Downey Jr. is amazing actor, no matter what he's in. So
yeah, I agree.
But you almost think for a second that Captain America's gonna kill Tony, even though he shoves the shield right into his arc reactor. Right. Basically kind of leaving him incapacitated in his suit. So
yeah.
But basically the fight's over. You see Cap is kind of just like, oh, okay. He starts walking off, and Tony yells after him. He's like, "You don't deserve that shield.
My father made
the shield." And Tony's like, "You're right." And he leaves the shield. And
you're right. He just drops it.
He doesn't say it, but like he thinks it. He's like, shit. And he drops it, and you see that kind of
the claw marks.
The shot of just the shield, with the claw marks through it. I thought it was a really cool shot to end that sequence.
Well, I love too as well. You see the claw marks as you just mentioned. Well, and we're going to talk about in 1 second who is Captain America now being funded by or working with. Black Panther. So that little mark to me shows me, hey, this guy is going to give him the new vibranium shield. So I like that little, and obviously too from the fight they had earlier, but just a little foreshadowing mark for me.
And so now we're back at whatever base it is, and we see Martin Freeman's character.
I like his character.
Ross,
I hope he's back in Black Panther.
Yeah, he's like, oh, just get out of line. You're done. Or I forget exactly what he says, but
he said,
please step out of line.
Zapped, right?
Something like that. Yeah. He's like, how does it feel to know this grand plan of yours failed so miserably? And he's like, did it fail?
I agree with him. It didn't. He won.
Yeah, he technically wins because the Avengers are broken apart, and most of them are on the run, and we don't know where Tony's at. But
it's kind of like the Joker in the Dark Knight. I'm not comparing him to the Joker in the Dark Knight. I just mean from a perspective of even though he's in jail at the very end, he still won. Harvey Dent was turned into the evil White Knight, and you know what I mean? All that stuff. He won.
His plan was executed perfectly. The Avengers are now broken apart and separated. So that's exactly what he wanted.
Even though we kind of see the healing process begin with that little letter we're going to get to in a sec.
Yeah.
But then right after that, we get back to seeing Tony back at the Avengers facility in the same orange Audi he was in at the end of Age of Ultron. I like seeing that car. I like seeing all Tony's cars. But then by the way, I didn't mind. It was totally fine. But is it me or does Don Cheadle look extra old in this with his
a little bit of gray hair? He does look older for sure.
It's not. It doesn't bother me or anything. I'm like, did he age like 15 years in the last couple of years?
Not that much.
I know.
Just a little bit.
I know. But I still love.
But it kind of makes sense because now Rhodey is sort of paralyzed a little bit and beaten down, so it makes him look a little more grizzled and
war. No, you're right.
And he even says 138 missions that he's flown on, and every one, he was fine going on. But even though he says, this sucks, this is a bad beat, but it doesn't change my mind about these Accords. I think. But you get a cool moment between Tony and Rhodey. They're good friends, and
I love
Tony. You see the little thing on Rhodey's legs. I don't know if that's Tony's tech helping him walk.
It is for sure.
But you got to think that whether it be in the War Machine suit or in some kind of suit, Rhodey's going to be able to fight again.
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna. I mean, for Avengers: Infinity War, they're going to need all the help they can get. And there's not 40 characters in this film, and I'm not saying that's what's going to happen in Infinity War.
60.
Well, we'll see.
68.
Who knows? But I mean, all I'm saying is between these last two movies and also the writers Marcus McFeely and the Russo brothers, the directors, they've proved to me not only do they get the Marvel characters, especially Captain America, but they get all the characters, but they understand how to use a lot of characters in one film and give them all their due without having to focus away or stray away from the story. Everyone gets their due, like in this film. Everyone gets their due spot. Everyone gets their shining moment. Everyone who's infused into this movie, it makes sense in the plot. You're not like, wow, that's a forced character in here through email or something like that, But
and people were saying that with Hawkeye, but it's established that Cap calls Hawkeye to be on the team with him, so it's like. Like you said, every single person is there for a reason and gets their shine in the movie.
Yeah, and we got to mention one of the great Stan Lee cameo in the FedEx.
One of my favorite ones, too.
And there's a Tony Stank here.
Yep, Tony Stank, right here. I'm never going to let that go.
Table for one, Mr. Stank. Yeah, no.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos.
And it was a nice moment for Rhodey to kind of go out with a smile,
Yeah.
Like, I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Stan Lee usually has a comedic cameo in all three. I'm thinking back to all his Captain America cameos. I thought he'd be taller. And then there's the second one. God, I am so fired. And then there's the third one, because Cap stole the music from the Smithsonian Museum, his suit back. And then this one, like, Mr. Stank, but it made sense in this one, like, he's actually delivering a letter that's kind of...
From Captain America.
Yeah, and it makes sense into the plot why this character is actually in the film. It's not just a fun...
Because this is the end of the movie, too. You're like, is he going to be in here? I mean, he's got to be, right?
He was also at the end of Ant-Man, too, in the little speaking montage where we talk about Spider-Man and some of the other ones, but... I liked how he gave the letter, and the letter was okay for me. Me personally, I wouldn't have minded if they would have started the healing process maybe a little after this, but I understood why they had to do it here, because Infinity War is the next set of events where all the characters are going to be in the same film again. Maybe Cap is in and Bucky are in Black Panther, we don't know yet, but in terms of all the characters being together in one film, it's going to be Infinity War, or whatever they rename it. So I guess they had to start a little bit of the healing process here. And also Steve, what I liked about the letter, he still felt a little responsible for not telling Tony why he didn't tell him about it. He said he was just trying to not hurt him, but really he was just trying to hide his own pain. So I did like that moment in the letters, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a good way to kind of end it off. And like you said, sort of reach out and say, he gives him the cell phone and says, if you ever need us, if you ever need me, call me. We're here. And that's what they end the movie.
And we also see Cap break out Wanda, Scott Lang, Hawkeye. He breaks him out of the prison, the raft. And I love... before we get to that, I love the moment where Ross... because it had been established a little earlier when Tony was leaving the base, the raft. He said, "You can call me anytime. I love putting people on hold. I like watching the line blank." Right? Little again foreshadowing, as Marvel loves to do. Then we see Ross calls to tell them there's been a breakout at the raft, and he says, "Can you please hold?" No. And then he just watches the line blank. Tony Stark is back to being his comedic normal self. I'm like, back to normal, baby. I love it. And just again, a good little perfect note to end the film on, seeing Cap get the Avengers back. Perfect. I love seeing that. Then we get our first mid-credit scene. We see that Bucky. This is what really makes me love Bucky even more. Again, from that moment he said to Tony, "I remember all of them," to the moment of where Zemo manipulates and does the words to him. He tells Steve and also T'Challa. He doesn't say to T'Challa, but off screen he probably tells T'Challa, "Until I can control myself, I need to be frozen until we can figure out."
It's the best thing for everybody.
It's the best thing for everyone. Until we can figure out how to control my mind, it's too dangerous. That makes Bucky such a relatable, good or super soldier, if you want to call him. But he's a good person. Even before he got brainwashed, you saw when he protected Steve in that alley. He's a good person, and this just goes even more the extra distance to prove that. How many people with super soldier? I mean, people in general, but people with super soldier power are going to say, "Put me on ice. I can't control myself." Because he feels so much haunted guilt from what's happening. He doesn't want to hurt anyone anymore. So it just really makes me identify and love Bucky that much more, and just really made me love that scene even more too. Just added so much more depth to the film in that scene. It could be one of my favorite mid-credit scenes I've ever seen.
It is a really good one. Yeah, and Cap tells T'Challa, "Thank you for helping me with this." And T'Challa says, "Your friend and my father were both victims. If I can help one of them, I'm going to do everything I can." And And Cap tells him, you know, if they find out he's here, they're going to come for him. And T'Challa's like, let them try. And they get that pan-out shot, and you see Wakanda outside. You see the Black Panther statue.
Oh, so
really cool. And
so
I'm really excited to see this place in the Black Panther movie coming out.
And as we've kind of mentioned this a couple times in this long review, if you're still with us, wow, nice. But yeah, no, we've mentioned a couple times in this scene-by-scene breakdown that we could both see Captain America and Bucky. And again, you don't have to make them a central focal point of the film. Obviously, that's going to be for T'Challa and Lupita Nyong'o's character, and now Michael B. Jordan's character. It's funny, they got the Human Torch, both Human Torches.
Yep.
But it's going to be interesting to see where that film takes off. I could definitely, now that Cap is, like we just said, the Secret Avengers, he's there with T'Challa. I could definitely see, at least, like Iron Man in the Spider-Man Homecoming film, I could see a good 15-20 minutes of Cap in the Black, just to get...
They don't really reference it, but we see Cap and Bucky are there, but are, you know, Falcon and Ant-Man,
I mean,
they're all them with him too
wanted, They're wanted fugitives. I would imagine that they had to come, because if they go back home to the United States or wherever they normally do go home, Ross is going to be after them. So if they did not come with Tony, they're going at great risk. I guess Scott Lang, he can become small and he can hide, but
he can't stay small forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it takes toll on his body.
Yeah, I agree with you. I personally think that the Secret Avengers are on that base with him, and I could also see Black Widow being there too, possibly.
Well, yeah, because Tony's team is kind of basically all Tony has is Vision and Rhodey. That's it, right?
Yeah,
so and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, 4, right.
But he's back in New York. He's going to be doing his own thing for a while. He's not real. I mean, he's not part of the Avengers on the base. So it's really just those three at the base now. That's all there is. Everyone else is off.
Right.
You know, in hiding.
And then we get the after credit scene, which we get Spider-Man. You know, he's got this cool technology that Tony Stark gave him. It's also a really cool callback to the animated series that came out in not the 90s. That's one of the greatest animated shows ever. The 60s animated show. He would do the same thing. He'd have a little light inside his web thing. Or his web shooter.
The Spider-Man logo.
With the Spider-Man logo. It's a very cool nod and Easter egg to that, an homage to that. Again, just I love the dialogue between him and Ant-Man. Who did that to you? It's this some guy named Steve from Brooklyn.
His friend was huge, giant man.
Yeah, giant Ant-Man.
I love that. Yeah, it's really cool. The two end credit scenes did a good job of setting up the two movies, Black Panther and Spider-Man, and just a good culmination of the really good, I feel, really good introduction of both these characters in this movie. But yeah, I enjoyed both after credit scenes, and at the very, very end, it says Spider-Man will return, and you know everyone gets excited about that.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree with you, and we've already given our scores to this. If you want to see that, we have the Marvel reviews playlist here, which you can check it out. Like I said, this is my favorite Marvel Cinematic film so far. You know, we got a lot more obviously coming with Phase 3, but I just thought this film just did such a good job. It was well directed. It was so well paced. The action is beyond amazing.
Some of the best we've ever seen.
The script is incredible. The characters are phenomenal. You really emotionally are invested with them, and you relate to them in so many different ways.
And they do a great job of just taking everything that's been built up in the past movies and using it all and making you feel for these characters in such high-stakes moments.
Absolutely.
And like you said, the script and dialogue is just top-notch.
Yeah.
It makes everything flow perfectly. Like, the action is great. And the scenes are great, but if the inner dialogue isn't there,
they're just cool action scenes that have no emotional weight or pull towards them.
Right, so. And this movie had it all. Did everything, just about everything, really, really well.
I had a great time peeling the layers and like really going through this entire film, because for me personally, it's one of, if not the greatest. Between Dark Knight and this, they're really close up there. I don't want to compare, but I love this movie so much. I have such an emotional pull towards it, and I really hope you guys enjoyed watching our scene-by-scene breakdown.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the scene-by-scene breakdown. We really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking through this video. If you did, we really appreciate that. Let us know what you think about this movie in the comments section, and for more videos, just hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.